I normally am a very timely person, but I know this 8 o'clock wake-up call has come quick for all of us. So grab some coffee. If you need water, there's snacks in the back. And I promise you, we're going to get through this day, and it will be meaningful and impactful. All right? Thank you. I have people that are here that were still on the road after midnight, traveling to be here. I believe we touch all 4 corners of the state today, and I want to say thank you for making the space in your heart first, in your mind second, and in your physical presence here today. From the bottom of my heart, this day is going to be the best day of our lives. I want to thank so many people, and we're going to get there, but we're going to go ahead and get started. And I wasn't going to introduce him until after, but I'm going to read it here now. My new brother, uncle, cousin, we are related, I know somehow. Lindsay Watchman, the General Counsel and Chairman of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. It is such an honor to have you here. Thank you for being here. Early in his career, Airman Watchman became responsible for delivering recertification trainings to military personnel, ensuring annual competency on a variety of topics, thus beginning his career as an educator. And I want to apologize because copying and pasting some of your bio is not in my script. Upon honorable discharge, he returned home to serve his people and earning his BS from Eastern Oregon and MED from the University of Oregon. He is an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, located in northeastern Oregon. An educator, traditionalist, layman linguist, and a father of 7. Mr. Watchman was recently re-elected to Tribal Council, who in turn is responsible for delivering day-to-day economic and community development services to a membership of 3,133 enrolled members located over the world. As a member of the Board of Trustees, he guides policy for a tribal government staff of 450 employees from departments such as administration, health and human services, natural resources, education, fire and police, among others. An additional 1,100 employees work at Wildhorse Resort and Casino, 520 more at Cayuse Technologies, totaling over 1,700 employees. The acronym CTUIR is the largest employer in Eastern Oregon. As a health educator and racial equity advocate, Mr. Watchman speaks to current CTUIR health disparities, intergenerational trauma, grief and healing, as well as its contiguous social determinants of the health. I'm going to let you say in your native tongue the big thanks for your attention and willingness to learn about the land and people of the Confederated Umatilla Tribes. I just met this beautiful human being via Zoom last week, and he said it would be my pleasure. And I just want to say this, land acknowledgements for me are hard, because we speak words all the time. We say we're this, we say we're that, and yet we continue to live in complacency. And I wanted to find a way to truly honor the land and the space in which we are in right now. And I will forever be grateful that you're here with us today. Thank you.
So, first of all, Tatsmewi, Nick Weinski, Kashiasquippa. Titokatimki, Winiksha, Patiwas, Kasoya, Potimki, Lindsay Watchman. Makaskatsiaya, Hanyawatona, Kilaiba, Inmaloitsa, Kipi, and Kinpa. So just a quick good morning to you in each of the three languages that are still spoken on the Umatilla Indian Reservation, the Umatilla, the Walla Walla, and the Downriver Nez Perce. My first order of business this morning is just as important, or equally more important in fact, is I was asked to give the invocation to start off our meeting today. So I'd like to do that first, and then I will start the land acknowledgement. So if you would all please rise. So we'll just pause for a quick moment and recognize the presence, the big presence, the Magus presence of our Anuak Creator. That power, that source, that energy, that chi, that observer, that protector, the compassionate. We know that we don't do anything on our own, Creator. We know that it takes friendships. We know that it takes work. We know that it takes others. And you know what? I appreciate you lending your hand upon us here today in this room, in this building, in this part of Oregon, for the purpose called the hand. Good hearts are here today. Good work will come from these good hearts here today. So again, we ask you, Hanuwa, our Creator, and in your own way, we say thanks, Magus Katsiaya, for allowing us to come together to be one heart and one body, and to see what we can do to make a better future for the beginning, for our children. I pray that you all get home safe as well after the work today is done, that your homes and your families are happy and healthy, and that the work and the energy and the knowledge that you gained here today with each other will bring those homes and even more happiness and populate your environments, your workplaces with good spirits from today. So not just for today, for the weeks, months, and years to come. I pray for Black Rural Network and Lanisha and the vision and philosophies you have, and I appreciate you all being here very much today. Yohokula. That's all. Thank you, folks. So I'm not sure. Oh, it's great. I like that. All right, I might have to move away from this mic though. All right, so as you may or may not know, you are on the homelands of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. That is comprised of three tribes, Confederated Tribes, the Umatilla, the Walla Walla, and the Nez Perce. And our people have lived here for over 10,000, 15,000 years. It seems like every year there's a new cave somewhere found in North America that shows remnants of indigenous people long, long, long before the Mayflower and the journeys to the northern continent. The map that you see on the screen there represents an area of about 6.4 million acres. Add that whole color, the different colors, I'll let you know what they mean in just a moment. But that large shape there, that's about 6.4 million acres. And if you may or may not be familiar with this area, but down on the bottom right is Ontario. You're almost into Idaho. Then you go through the center of the state, past Burns, to that bottom, that southwest corner there. A peak, a Vision Peak, Spanish Peak. Then it follows the river, Willow Creek, all the way up to the Columbia River. Now we're going And then you go up into the Tri-Cities area, as you can see Richland. That little thumb that's sticking out up there. Again, it follows another water route. They're not straight lines. We'll get to the straight lines in a second. But the negotiations that took place. So our people were on the Lewis and Clark Trail. The Lewis and Clark were helped by the Nez Perce through a difficult winter in 1803, and then made it through the mountain range down to our people, saw our people in the Lewis and Clark manuscripts. They'll talk about their interactions with us. A couple of our chiefs received Jefferson Peace Medals during that time. Lewis and Clark made it down to Fort Vancouver to the Pacific Ocean, went back and told everybody else, and of course the Oregon Trail came after that. 500,000 immigrants, Americans moving westward to find a place to call their own, looking for land. Land that was recently purchased, the Louisiana Purchase. Thomas Jefferson sends out Lewis and Clark. Meet the tribes, build good relations, find a water route to the Pacific if you can. So that all happened, part of American history, part of our history. But that wasn't until 1840s did our tribal people start to interact with the wagon train. So in 1855, the United States government, Oregon Territory, Washington Territory, they weren't states at that time. It behooved everybody in the region to find a way to get along, find a place to live. That's that reservation concept. Many reservations were developed at this time. Again, for 2 weeks in Walla Walla, we negotiated our treaty with the federal government. And that's why still to this day, we are in a government-to-government relationship with the federal government. There was no Oregon, state of Oregon. That didn't happen until 1859. Did they enter the Union several years later for Washington? Right, we're talking about land, residency. Because once you got residency, you have jurisdiction and responsibility and authority, right? Okay, so we negotiated our reservation. Jim Palmer and Isaac Stevens only wanted 2 reservations. That would have happened in Yakima, and that would have been Washington, and it would have happened in Nez Perce, Idaho. Our leaders, our people, the Umatilla River, Walla Walla River, Cayuse people lived down here, didn't live in those other areas, right? Who would want to be completely displaced, right? So we were able to fight, our chiefs were able to fight, very honored to those treaty signers. We still honor them every day to make that tough decision to move on to this smaller area called a reservation and try to figure out a way to assimilate with the incoming wagon train. So 6.4 million acres was negotiated down to 500,000. So you start looking at the smaller area in that picture. And then, so that was a place, but then they required BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and mission superintendents to monitor the tribal members. When they can leave, when they can not leave. And the real problem is the reason why we had 6.4 million acres, it ain't we had, because Indians didn't believe in private property concept, it was all communal assets. To the left or to the west of that is the Yakima and the Warm Springs. To the right is the Nez Perce. To the east. So what that 6.4 million acres represents is our seasonal round, our traditional seasonal round. At certain times of the year, it's time to fish. Because that spring and the fall, that's when the salmon are coming up. There are certain times of the year to gather berries, huckleberries in August, chokecherries in July, other berries when they come out, roots. So prior to the reservation, even 10,000 years ago, there were mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and all that. So yeah, that movie 10,000 BC, running around with a loincloth with a big old Atlanta. I mean, that was us. That was here, the golf course. We just finished up the mammoth course. The mammoth cup over there, when they dug the golf course, they found a mammoth tooth. So that's why there's mammoth cup. So there's no doubt about our presence in this area for 10,000 plus years. There's no doubt. Our person, the Kennewick man was a set of bones that was found along the Columbia River, and it took America decades to say it was Native American and allow us to honor and rebury that individual. But that's just science, right? Curiosity. But back to the land again. So now imagine that. Imagine that you had all this free roam to follow the earth cycles, nature, and plants, animal cycles. And now all of a sudden, because of all this fighting and killing, because more residents in the area looking for land and looking for water, okay, now there's this reservation. Good decision, to save everybody from fighting at that time. But now you're very constricted. Now you have to ask for permission to come and go. Now you can't just hunt and fish when you need to. So your health is going to deteriorate. Now you're also dependent on rations from the federal government. Now you're dependent on assimilation strategies, schools and mills and all these other kind of farming. We still to this day don't farm. That was pushed on us over 100 years ago. Become farmers, send us to boarding schools. There's a whole different level of trauma with boarding schools. Kids being taken from their land to school and having to come back to it. So land, other places when you hear land acknowledgements, you could probably get through that in about 30 seconds. Probably take about 10, 15, 20 minutes to write it. So I'm going a little bit deeper, if you don't mind. Thank you, Lanisha. Because they are important. It's part of history. Native American history is the same as U.S. history. But again, if you don't learn it in school, if these kind of efforts weren't taken at conferences or forums when you just have a few minutes, then you don't really get a chance to kind of bridge that gap. So again, our reservation, we negotiated to about 500,000 acres. And then the federal government said, you only have 800 Indians, and you have 500,000 acres, that's way too much for y'all to deal with. So they came up with the federal allotment process. All right, now we're gonna give the chief, or not the male, 80 acres, the female 40 acres, the wife and the kids 20 acres. Boom, that just cuts off half of what we negotiated in 1855. And then you have surveys, you see a straight line, that blue and that green, that was part of our negotiated reservation. But at some point, okay, the Oregon Trail's coming up over the mountains from LeGrand, at Meacham, at one of the highest points, there was a stagecoach stop out there. Business. Back then, you couldn't sell alcohol on the res. So what'd they do? Hired somebody to do a survey, started from the northeast, came straight down. Of course, the tribe don't have any resources to stop this. Well, guess what? That stagecoach and that saloon was just on the east side of that boundary. Okay, so again, that's just one more strategy to reduce our land base. Again, so, and nowadays we have a very checkerboarded reservation. Very happy to have my reservation. I'm gonna kind of wrap this up a little bit. I'm very happy to have been born Native American. Obviously, I'm not full-blooded Native American. The other half of me is Finnish. I'm actually 9th generation documented Finnish because about 15 miles from here in Helix is a Finnish homestead. They've documented the whole movement from the original 3 brothers who immigrated over Philadelphia, wagon train, came over and found a spot of our land that they liked and was able to acquire it. So again, very, very proud of my heritage, my ethnicity. Native Americans are about 2% of the population in the state, very similar ratios. And again, just want to close with, although our land has diminished, we are taking care of our own land. Again, you heard in the intro that we are a very big organization, just like the city of Portland or the city of Pendleton. We, the government officials, are responsible for taking care of all the social service needs of the people in the community, as well as our tribal members who are off the reservation. So, again, I want to close. Just, do you have the other? Is that the only graphic? All right. So, I'm going to close. again, people of color have some additional challenges. I'll just leave it at that. After the unfortunate loss of Mr. Floyd, Pendleton also, the people gathered and we rallied for various reasons and purposes, but myself and the other general counsel officers went down to that rally in full regalia. And my wife is a graphic artist, and she made this. I want to show you guys all in just a second. But again, people of color have their unique challenges, additional challenges, and this is a great way. I'm very honored, Amisha. I'm proud of you for what you've created. I know because of those things that our voices have become even more asked for, more solicited, you know, and it's good and it's healthy for us to be in those places, because as an educator, right, you didn't learn this in K through 12, you know, you'd have to just spend a little bit of time with the Native American to learn a little bit, you know, so I look forward to learning more about you, Lanisha, spending time past today, and hopefully I'll come across you down the road. But I don't know how to display this. I'm gonna leave it here for the conference. I'm gonna come back. I heard there's some great music, so I'm gonna come and go and enjoy the day with you all as well. But very proud of this graphic, so I'm just gonna pass it around, and then wherever it ends up staying, then I'll come back and get it at the end of the day. So in closing, any Makus and Makus Kasiaya for your time, your energy, and the journeys that you're on, and let me be a small part of it today. So, Indigenous peoples for Indigenous sovereignty, Black liberation, Black Lives Matter.
Thank you again so much. How many of you guys just learned something? There's so much of our stories that they don't want us to know. I still don't know who that they are, because they're like for me, they're like the devil. They roam to and fro, and sometimes they are invisible, but you know that they are there. Thank you again, Lindsay. Gonna just switch real quick because timing. Give me 1 second. I have a couple of people that I want to honor and acknowledge. I'm gonna do one now because she has to go to a meeting, and then she's gonna come back and dance with me, hopefully. Heidi, my big sister. Y'all should know I adopt everybody into a family fold. So everybody becomes an auntie, a mother, an uncle, a cousin, something. It has been a journey to get here. And I had the pleasure of meeting Heidi on a Zoom call about advancing rural leadership development and organization. She is the Executive Director of Rural Development Initiatives. She sent me an email, I sent her an email during that time, and I'm so thankful that she took her time to invest in me. And sometimes she would just be like, we can just sit. You don't have to say nothing, you don't have to do nothing, and it's okay. She spent over 2 hours on one Zoom call with me to do a budget. And it's what I needed, right? In this work, people always have, or always want to offer their assistance, and sometimes, even in the moment, we that are doing the work don't know the help that we need in that moment. And I'm thankful for the people who wait until we know what we need, and they respond accordingly. Since March of 2021, Heidi and her team have welcomed me into their homes, into their hearts, and into their world and work. The most memorable moment I have of Heidi is when she was more convinced that I could be an executive director before I was. Heidi has quickly become a mentor and a big sister. I text her about anything, and she always makes time and room for me when I need it. Her expertise in rural has made her someone I can glean from and partner with to do broader outreach to Black people in rural communities and our rural communities at large. When Heidi asked if I wanted to bring the Black Rural Network Conference to Pendleton, I did not hesitate to say yes. Heidi sees no competition in our space, and we definitely complement the work each of us focuses on. I appreciate the way you make me stretch my thinking. Like I said, we've sat in silence together over Zoom when neither of us feel we have the right words to speak. Thank you, Heidi. For believing that I could be your counterpart and your colleague. Thank you for offering yourself as an instrument of change. You are a force to be reckoned with, and I'm so thankful to call you my friend. Please join me in celebrating my homegirl, Heidi Coker.
I won't say anything because I really want you to center yourself and look at today. And I am so grateful to both be here. Thank you. But this day is a beautiful day. This conference has been a beautiful conference for us. It was made so much better.
Wasn't prepared to cry that soon. But okay. So many of you I've been working with for the last 2 years, and I'm just starting to meet you face to face this week. One of those people being my big sis, Nakia. I am losing my place all over the place. Here we go. So I'm gonna start from the top now. We're gonna go for food, what I got written. This is gonna keep me right. So I have not introduced myself. Some of you may not know who I am. I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for being here in person and virtually in our inaugural Black Rural Network Conference. I am your host, Lanisha Duke. I am the founder and executive director of Humble Beginnings. I want to first thank God for making this day possible. I acknowledge that each of us has our own belief system. For me, without my faith in God, I would not be here today. Before my soul said yes, I was ready for my life to end. I was 26 years old, and I told the Lord, if this is all life is going to be for me, take it now. This day began with one yes to a search for purpose and what would become an unwavering belief in God. More than what I was taught as a generational preacher's kid. Thank you. For many Black folks, church was the epicenter of community. my grandfather's favorite songs, What a Friend We Have in Jesus. And yes, God is real. God is through hard days. I must admit, it wasn't until I stopped going to church that I really fell in love with God.
That's right. That's right.
To those who have experienced the pain of religion, I want to acknowledge your experience. I mean you no harm to you during this moment. I too had to forge my own belief system. While this is not a religious event, I continue to acknowledge faith as a cultural tradition among many of us gathered here today. A lot of us grew up in church. And since this is Sunday morning, I thought we could share in the experience of receiving a message of love and hope to get us through these increasingly trying times. It is with great joy that I introduce our preacher this morning, Reverend Dr. Nakia Council Daniels. Dr. Daniels is a rural Oregonian. She serves in the office of Governor Kate Brown as the Director of Equity and Racial Justice as of May of this year. Dr. Daniels is a proud U.S. Army veteran, and in her prior time to the governor's office, Dr. Daniels served leading affirmative action and equal employment opportunity portfolio, as well as the governor's Veterans Policy Advisor. Dr. Daniels holds a bachelor's degree in organizational management and an MBA focused on marketing and finance from Ashford University, and recently completed a doctorate in business administration at Columbia Southern University. That is my sister. She is a panelist and public speaker on her doctoral research and professional work. Dr. Daniels is also a published scholar on topics of equity and business. Long committed to equity and equal opportunity, Dr. Daniels has received training from the Equal Opportunity Commission on Equal Employment Law and Codes of Federal Regulation, and is certified as a compliance officer on all protected class statutes, with the emphasis on Americans with Disabilities Act. She is also versed in Lean Six Sigma, which is a business method for using collaborative teamwork for continuous improvement and advancing organizational cultural change. In her spare time, Nakia enjoys reading, writing, and spending time with her family. She is an artist and performing singer and completed a novel in 2014. When we first connected last year, she immediately became a sister to me. She prayed for me. There are people in this room who pray for me. That is the most important connection of this work for me. I pray that no matter what your belief is, something will be said that will uplift your spirit. Please join me in welcoming my dear sister, Reverend Nakia Council Daniels.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I think we can do a little better than that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Amen. Some of you all have driven as far as I have, or farther, or flown farther. It means so much to me to be here that I spent the entire day yesterday, and I mean the entire day yesterday working. And when I thought I couldn't go on at about 9 p.m. and hadn't packed anything because I worked all day, I got everything thrown into a bag. And by 9:30, I got on the road and I got here about 2 a.m. And so I want to thank you all so much for your diligence and commitment to being here, for your patience with me making my way here this morning. And I want to acknowledge each and every one of you, and if we could give each other a hand clap. As we say in the Baptist Church, a hand clap of praise to each and every one of you for being here. I'm so thankful for Lanisha. This is our first time meeting. Lanisha probably met everybody over Zoom. I thought I was special. And it means so much to me. We were immediately connected, immediately kindred spirits, and it means so much to me to meet her. I said, "You are shorter than I thought you were." I'm so grateful to be here that I felt the presence of God on the way here. Usually when I speak, and I haven't done this in a long time, I haven't been in church in a long time. Usually when I speak, I have notes, and I don't need them today because I know that today is purposed. I believe that today is already a great day. I believe it was ordained before the foundation of the world. I believe that we're all supposed to be here. Everything is happening the way it should be. Everything will go the way it's supposed to be. Today is a great day, and each of us get to be a part of that great day. I want to, as my brother Lindsay did, open in a word of prayer. And I want to acknowledge that, as Lanisha has already stated, we don't all have the same belief, but whomever it is that you pray to, when I'm praying, you may pray to whomever it is that you pray to, but I hope that you will give me the opportunity to be authentic in my faith as I would give you the opportunity to be authentic in your faith. Amen? Amen. Amen. Oh, I'm in the house today. God, we thank you for this space and this time and this opportunity to speak your word to your people. Let every seed that is planted here today be watered and nourished, and you get the increase. Bless the Black World Network and Humble Beginnings, and each and every person here today, and their families represented, their communities represented. Have your way in the lives of your people. Speak a word to your people. Empower, uplift, encourage. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I also want to take a moment and acknowledge very many of us are going through very many things, and we've made our way into the building on today. I have to take a moment and acknowledge the lives that were lost in Buffalo, New York, the many lives across our nation of people of color who are struggling and burdened with the hatred and vitriol that is racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia and ageism and ableism. And when you are a person of color, those things are compounded. And so I have to acknowledge that those things still exist. We're here and we're celebrating, and I promise you we will. But we've got to acknowledge that even those of us in this room have experienced some of those things, and we bring that with us. And so I'm going to be as quick as I possibly can. Our theme today is, and still we rise. Now I'm going to take this microphone off of here if it's the last thing I do. And somebody's going to have to help put it back up here later. Oh, it's a lot of hooks on. Is that tape? Okay. So I want to be able to come down. Do y'all mind if I take this tape off real quick? Because I like to be close to the people. And Mayor, if you could help me come down the stage once I get this contraption situated. Now look, this piece goes here, okay? Whoever's gonna come fix this back up the way it was supposed to be. Now, I grew up in church, and I appreciate, again, I felt the Spirit of God when I walked in this place, and I appreciate the opportunity to be authentic to you, with you all, and I really am going to try. I'm not going to do the three Baptist closings. I'm really going to try to get out of here as quickly as I can. What I will share with you is our theme today is, and still, we rise. In order to rise and to do it collaboratively, I believe that there are three things that we need to focus on. The first thing is we have to be connected. Somebody say connected. Amen. I come from a call and response environment. Amen. It is cultural, it is spiritual, right? It's normal for me. And so as I say a word, if you want to holler it out, go ahead and holler that word back out to me. We're going to have us a good time. It is Sunday morning, is it not? I came in the building and the Williams brothers was playing. I said, Lanisha, what is, now you done messed up. I was going to try really, really, really hard to stay at that podium and act as though I had been raised right. But I said, oh no, we're in the building. We're in the building. The first thing you have to do is be connected. The second thing you have to do is be committed. Somebody say committed.
Committed.
And in order to rise and to rise together, you must be connected and committed and willing to bring about change. First in yourself. First in yourself. Change has to happen on the inside of you first. There are people in this room. None of us created the world that we live in. None of us. And yet there are those of us who benefit from the creation and those of us who are fighting to change the system and the creation that was created. And so each and every one of us have an opportunity to ensure that we are rooted and grounded in who it is that we truly are, what we are truly called to do, what we're truly purposed to be, in order to ensure that the people you're sitting next to aren't just faces at the table. The people that you are standing beside and drinking coffee with and going to conferences with aren't just people that you say nice things to today, but they're people that stay in your spirit when you lead. They're people that you think about when you make decisions. They're people that you honor even in their absence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you are connected, somebody say connected. When you are committed, somebody say committed. You can then bring about change first on the inside of you. I tell my 3 beautiful children, if you really want to make a difference in the world, the first person you must lead is yourself. You lead yourself, people will pay you good money to teach them how to lead themselves and others, because there are very few people who are willing to do the work to change themselves so that they can change and help and lead others. Am I talking to the people on today? And so once you are connected and committed and willing to make change on the inside of you, then you can make change in your immediate environment. Then you can make change in your community. And then you can make change in the world. I had so many things I wanted to say, but I'm going to do my very best to be obedient to the Spirit and get up out of here. Well, I was raised that when you are asked to speak, you stand up, you strike fire, and you sit down. Amen? I was thinking about Ruth in the book of Ruth in the Bible, for those of you who are familiar. And I thought about her life and thought about how she was all of the things I mentioned. She stayed connected to Naomi. Amen. She was committed, to her and said, my people will be your people and your land will be my land and your faith will be my faith. And God blessed her. And I thought about my mama and how she was connected to her faith and allowed that to help her birth 5 children, one of whom you're seeing here today. I speak about the challenges of living and moving. I had my 2nd cancer diagnosis last December. In the last 5 years, had surgery April 11th, and I'm standing here before you completely fine. Amen. I'm okay because God is bigger and God is greater, and I'm entirely too cute, okay? It's not going to happen. I'm going out on my own terms. And I thought about my mom, and I said, I had 3 women I was going to talk about, but I'm going to spend the most time on this last woman. And this last woman, and I met, as I mentioned, over Zoom, because we lived in a world where you had to do that at the time. And her spirit, her heart for the people. When we connected, I was the deputy director of the Oregon Youth Authority, and we were talking about figuring out a way to partner with the kids of color and their families in rural areas who don't see themselves represented and don't have community, and they don't know what that kind of love and acceptance looks like, what it feels like, how it shows up, how it can encourage you, how it can help you make a better decision. One positive adult relationship, one study shows, this is statistically proven, will change the course trajectory of an at-risk youth. One! So we was going to figure something out one way or the other. And I remember, I don't even know how quickly it happened between phone calls and emails and Zoom, that our faith just ignited. And yes, we did pray. And yes, we started finishing together. It is real. I love being a black woman. God knows I do. I love being a black woman. The way in which I can look at her face and say, okay, you know, we didn't have to say very many words. And so I want to spend another moment acknowledging a person. You could feel it when you walked in here, who understands connection. I'm telling you, person after person after person. I thought it was just me. I really thought it was just me. I thought I was special. The executive director of Humble Beginnings, the founder of the Black Rural Network, has connecting in her DNA.
Yes, yes.
You can tell what somebody cares about. You can tell where their heart is, where their passion is, by who and what they're connected to.
All right.
And if you really want to know who they are, you look at who and what they're connected to and how committed they are to who and what they're connected to. Can I get an amen? You have to pay attention. We got to start paying attention. Brother Lindsay, you said people say a lot of words. You said it too. A lot of words. When we do land acknowledgments, when we honor those who we love and who we've lost. How committed are you to the work? None of my degrees are in diversity, equity, or inclusion. But when you are connected, when you're committed, you change. Some of you know Ms. Duke's story. Some of you know what she had to go through coming into a state where she had no roots. And look at what she was able to do. I think this deserves a hand clap of praise. Look at what being connected and committed and being willing to go through the hard parts of change. We want the bends and bees and we want to take through tulips. Change is hard. And when you make those changes because of what you're committed to and who you're connected to, then you can change yourself, you can change your environment, and you can change the world. This is just the beginning. 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 There will be larger, more expanded conferences connected to the Black Rural Network. And as we go through our own self-reflection and think about who it is that we're connected to and what we're connected to, who and what we're committed to, how dedicated we are to being a change agent. Are there any change agents in the room? I know better. I apologize. I didn't acknowledge anybody. I have really good manners. Blessings to all of you officials and wonderful people here. Mayor, I heard Councilwoman is here. Blessings to all of you. I do have manners, but we got to get up out of here. I'm almost done. When you know who you are and you know your purpose, all of those things become a part of your journey. And then you will rise and rise and rise and still rise. And then you will rise again and rise again and rise again and still rise. And you'll turn around and bring somebody along with you. And then y'all will rise and rise and rise and still rise. And you'll teach that person to turn around and grab somebody else and bring them alongside. And then you all will rise and rise and rise and still rise. Blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you all so much for your dedication to being here. And I want us to give God a clap of praise and the executive director of the Black Rural Network and Humble Beginnings a hand clap of praise. Thank you all so much for being here. And may the Lord bless and keep each and every one of you. And still we rise. And still we rise. And still we rise. And still we rise.
Look what you're making me do. Thank you so much for that word. If it was a church, I was like my grandmother sitting over there on the piano. Start playing, come to Jesus, come to Jesus, come to Jesus, just have Just then she would say, he will say, I'm not going there. I told her, don't make me shout. I've been trying to shout since yesterday. I got in my car yesterday morning to run errands, and I just kept screaming, yes. I couldn't say nothing else in my car, but I just kept screaming, yes. Because it's my soul that says yes. Because sometimes Lanisha says, I don't want to. Huh, Marcy? All right. So, before we go any further, I want to honor someone else and acknowledge them. I want to, first before I do that, thank our gracious sponsors. I'll be honest, when I first began planning this event, asking for folks to sponsor this event did not even cross my mind. Every sponsor was self-identified. Every sponsor reached out and said, Lanisha, we want to offer support. So I would like to thank Rebecca Nichols, the principal at RPN Strategies. Rebecca offers leadership and organizational services as well as other workshops and opportunities to build capacity. I met her over Zoom. And I'm thankful. I've never heard somebody tell me that connecting is in my DNA. But that makes so much sense. Our organizational sponsors are the Ford Family Foundation, Oregon Community Foundation, Oregon State University Extension and Engagement, the Urban League of Portland, and Business Oregon. Some of our sponsors are represented here today. Please stand up so we can acknowledge your presence and support. If you're from Ford Family, OCF, OSU. Thank you for being here today and making it possible for all of us to convene together. I could write a book about the experiences of the last 2 years since the murder of George Floyd. This is when having a script will work in my favor, so I just don't go on and on. The next person I'm going to talk about has been a catalyst for me being here today, for us being here today. Individually and collectively, they each believed in me and helped me fully believe in myself. As many of you know, this is in no way the plan I had for my life. I had no idea that the pursuit of purpose would lead me to move to the Oregon coast. I was a stranger in a foreign land, a city girl from Los Angeles, living in a small rural town. Almost 8 years later, I still cannot believe that this is my life. Every so often, I get an urge to jump off the path. That's where I was at the end of 2020. The months after George Floyd's death left me exhausted, brokenhearted, and I no longer felt like I could trust my community with my heart. I was ready to give up and find a different path. I was not in agreement with my board of directors, but it was only my life being affected. I kept being asked to show up to tables where everyone was being paid to be there except me. I was ready to give up. I tell you, I was ready to walk away from it all. Our name used to be the Love Coalition. And before George Floyd was murdered, all we did was Martin Luther King events. For 3 years, that's what I did. I would host like a barbecue here and there. I'd get some fried chicken. I have a cast iron that's this big. And I just feed my folks. We set up on the beach, we do bench bonfires. But I really, that's all I did. And I just helped people in my community. And I'm thankful. I've always been told that I know how to use my voice, so use it. And I've been able to advocate for people in my community that don't look like me, that sometimes have not understood the plight of what people that look like me go through, even in their communities. But I still help them because that is what I was called to do. I wrote a letter to the dissolution, a letter of dissolution to the IRS. We used to be the Love Coalition. I asked my board to resign, and I promise you, just before I could get that letter in the mail, on January 24th, 2021, I received a message from Marcy Bradley on LinkedIn. It said, "Hi, Lanisha. Would love to connect with you and discuss your work, Marcy." That message changed my life.
All right.
Even after explaining to Marcy that I had just dissolved the organization, she encouraged me to do what I needed to do to stay on the path. I had to recruit new board members and reset on the path that we are here now on. If Marcy had not reached out to me on that day, we would not be here today. Marcy. Man.
It's all right. It's all good.
Your commitment to Black excellence is unmatched in this state. As a Black woman, you take risks and you dare others to join you in spaces and places that have traditionally been off limits. You have raised the bar at how philanthropy extends to Black-led organizations. Even when I didn't think that I fit in because I didn't serve Black folks, you realized my unique place as a Black woman in a rural, predominantly white space in Tillamook County, and you felt that I should be supported. You connected us to our first grant through the Black Student Success Network program. Marcy was recently promoted from her role as program officer of the Black Student Success Program to the Director of Equity and Culture at Oregon Community Foundation.
All right.
I keep saying this, and I personally think, she's gonna look at me, that she should be named the next CEO of OCF, but one can only pray. Marcy, thank you for being a catalyst for change. Thank you for paving the way. Thank you for opening the doors for people like me all across this state. Thank you for your prayers, your words of encouragement, and your modeling of excellence. Everyone, please help me celebrate my dear sister. All right, I'm gonna do this and then we're gonna take a break. The next person I want to celebrate has quickly become my BFF, one of my closest confidants and friends. It started with an email. On August 12th, 2020, I wrote, "Hello, Denise. I want to introduce myself to you and my organization, the Love Coalition. We focus on building better communities, focusing on celebrating Dr. King's holiday, as well as facilitating sometimes difficult conversations. I would love to schedule some time to talk with you about how and if the Ford Family Foundation could be a resource to us in building capacity for meeting our community needs as it relates to social justice awareness." Thank you. Her response simply said, "Hi, Lanisha. Absolutely. I would love to chat." We met 2 days later, and I would never have imagined what we have come to do since then. She is my partner in crime. Without the support of Denise Bacon and the Ford Family Foundation, again, we would not be here today. Denise has supported me not just in my professional journey, but as a friend and support in my personal life as well. I shared yesterday some of my journey. Last year was one of the hardest years of my life. She's been a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, a place where I can say what needs to be said without being judged. She believed in me before there was a Black Rural Network. Denise, you helped me navigate a system that was not built for me. The Ford Family Foundation has become an integral part of this work. Their support has been unwavering since I came up with the idea for the Black Rural Network. They only ask what is needed, and they do not dictate what and how it's done. Denise is most often the first person I call when I'm looking to find help and resources for my community in Tillamook County. Her wealth of knowledge and her willingness to be a thought and action partner is unparalleled. She's never too busy, and she's never too far away. I depend on her for emotional support and extra prayers along this journey. I've shared at her dinner table with her family and even snuggled with one of her four-legged friends. I often say I'm not smart enough to be invited into some spaces. I only have a high school diploma and barely finished 1 year of college. Denise often reminds me that I am more than qualified to be where I am. When she put me in a room with some scientists, I was like, this is unreal. Denise, thank you for offering yourself as an instrument of change. You are a force to be reckoned with, and I am so thankful to call you my friend. Please join me in celebrating my friend, Denise Baker. So now I have to go off script and be transparent. Many of you know that I spent most of last year without my own home. And in January, because I told the Lord, I said, if you want me to continue doing what I'm doing, I need a place to live. And everybody knows how hard it is to find housing. I am still struggling to afford to live. But I'm better off this year than I was last year, thank the Lord. I temporarily moved in with a 3-month lease into a house that was a block from the beach in Manzanita. And everybody was like, oh, it's so wonderful. I love Manzanita. I've actually had 5 different roofs over my head in Manzanita. It's like my soul space. But that house, God let me get there to figure out that was not where I was supposed to be anymore. And it broke my heart because I was leaving what I've known for the last 7.5 years. The house that I was renting had really bad mold. It was coming out of the walls. I've never seen mold in refrigerators and freezer. Moist mold inside the counter, and it ended up in my pillow. So since January, I've been having nosebleeds. I've been having about 2 or 3 a week. I had one last night, and I need to stop crying so I don't have another one while I'm standing up here. So I am going to ask that we take a little break and let me regroup, and then I'm going to introduce our next speaker for today. So we're going to take 10 minutes, meet some folks, get some coffee, get some water, use the restroom, but I need to make sure that I don't fall down.
There can be. If they say
I thank you all for your patience. I know we're a little behind, so I'm thankful that you all are taking this time to get to know each other. I feel like I've always been the type of person, I've never had one friend group. I've always had lots of friend groups, and I have this set of friends, this set of friends, this set of friends, and then every so often I get to bring all my friends together. And they all get along. And so, again, I just want to say thank you. And I just want to share this with you. This will be the why for why we're here. And then I'm going to introduce our speaker. We'll get right into our keynote panel, because I know Short is running time. I want to stay timely. I've had the pleasure of meeting so many of you over the last year as we began exploring the idea of a Black rural network. What does it look like? What purpose does it serve? What solutions can we offer? And how do we engage in community? Why are we here? Even as the answers are still formulating, I want to share with you what I will be working with our board, partners, and many of you to achieve. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of board members who have just joined the Board of Humble Beginnings. If you're in the room, please stand. Mary, Linda, no? Okay, they're still on the break. But they're here. After a year of assessing the needs of Black and rural communities, we are coming into focus on how we grow forward. First is we will begin working towards building a leadership program with a Black rural focus. I want to help emerging leaders strengthen and add to their toolkit in building successful campaigns for grassroots community organizing and civic engagement. Next, we are forming partnerships with organizations who are looking to do engagement with Black people in rural and then the greater rural community at large. We are building relationships with isolated rural communities with either few or no Black community members, helping prepare the path should Black people ever choose to live, work, or play in their towns. And I'm gonna tell you, that's what I believe I specialize in. I go into the places that no one wants to go to because they know that they're not ready for us. And I was sharing with someone last night that I've reached a stage in my life that I no longer live in fear. And it's been a really interesting, like an inner body, outer body experience to know that no matter where I go, I'm no longer afraid. And that's why I can go into these small towns, because I understand for me, if God goes before me, no one can stand against me. And I disarm people with love. And they don't even have an opportunity seriously, I go into the dive bars, like the dive bars. And I just say, what's up? Sometimes I had it on last night, my Nehalem camo sweatshirt, like I represent my hood, like we are all going to try. And I start those conversations. I'll be going to Vail soon, and some other communities. I was at the League of Oregon Cities meeting and met mayors who said, we don't have any Black kids in our schools. And I said, I'm gonna come talk to your folks. Because the Department of Education in Oregon has dictated that by 2025, every school, K through 12, has to start teaching cultural studies. This year, Oregon just passed, or actually went into effect, the Crown Act about hair discrimination. When people don't know, they don't know. That's number one. And I thank God for grace. And my story is God met me where I was. God didn't wait until I had a clean heart to sit with me. And I go and sit with people who need to be loved until they feel safe enough to grow. That's my gift. That's the work that I do. So also, and I'll put this out there because I need help. We need to identify how we will provide quantitative and qualitative data for the work moving forward. So y'all send somebody my way. I'm a one-person operation. I never thought I would be starting a nonprofit. I've tried to not. Nobody will take me as a fiscal sponsor. So I'm like, I guess I got to build this nonprofit. Thank you, OSU Extension, for making sure that we have what we need as far as QuickBooks and somebody helping us with our operations, just the logistics of the manuals and to stay legal on paper. That takes a lot of work. I have been in Pendleton since Monday because I got here so I could keep meeting people to get them here. We also look forward to hosting Black rural meetups in various parts of the states throughout the year so we can continue to stay in touch with our neighbors. So that's just a little bit about what we've been doing. All right. We're now going to hear from our guest speaker, Mayor Alexander Johnson II. It only took me a couple of minutes into our first conversation on Zoom to ask him to please go to his calendar and see if he was available on May 22nd. Alexander D. Johnson II started his political career in 2018 when he was elected to serve as a city councilor for Ward 2. He won the election by an unprecedented 70.25%. He announced his plan to run for mayor on February 20th, 2020. He campaigned on the promise of being an engaging, interactive, and transparent servant leader. Alex was elected to serve as mayor of Albany, Oregon on November 3rd, 2020. Alex is directing his efforts to creating a more affordable community with housing options for all income levels by establishing a housing affordability task force. In addition, as a proponent of economic development, he is also focused on creating a more business-friendly environment for entrepreneurs and corporations and a fiscally responsible public safety apparatus, improved infrastructure with plans for expansion to accommodate present and future generations. Ensuring completion of the waterfront redevelopment, which is scheduled to start in July of 2022, which will improve the long-term economic viability and livability for Albany for generations. Alex is the founder and principal broker of True Life Financial Solutions, LLC. He founded True Life with the primary purpose of educating and providing insurance solutions necessary to protect the financial future of families before true life events happen. He and his team are licensed in 17 states. And can I just say to my Black folks, y'all know we don't like talking about this stuff. Traditionally, life insurance, death, what happens after death, what even happens in life, how we start generating generational wealth for our families, because that was robbed from us. Thank you. So y'all, give him some business and get insured. Alex is a veteran of the United States Navy. He served 10 years, 11 months, 14 days, and 5 hours in the United States Navy as a lead fire control technician. He served 5 years aboard the USS Copeland, stationed in San Diego, California. He also served as a master training specialist at Fleet Training Center, San Diego for 4 years. During his naval career, Alex visited 38 countries. He has a Bachelor of Science in Business Management from the University of Phoenix. He and his wife, Norma, have been married for 36 years, and they have 2 adult children, a grandson and a granddaughter due in November. Alex's adventurous life and diverse career began in Raleigh, California on June 22nd, 1965. It has been such an honor to get to know you, to now have you as a text buddy, and another person who said, Lanisha, I will be in Pendleton only for you, because who goes to Pendleton? So let's welcome Mayor Johnson.
Of ever being where I am today. I worked at HP for almost 10 years. They went through a change. I joined Agile Technologies. And along the way, I met some really wonderful people. While all of those two companies, I hired 102 people of color and women to work at HP Packard and Agile Technologies. And most of them are still there. And the woman that replaced me was a woman of color, because I took another job at another corporation. And to promote her to my spot made me feel great, because I hired her, mentored her, and got her to a position where she became a manager and was making over $100,000 a year. So that's one of my success stories. So like I said, like Lanisha shared, I've been in 38 countries, traveled the world, Persian Gulf 3 times, Australia, Fiji, you name it. But one thing that I did find in common, that our greatest export in this country is racism. Everywhere I went, people could say the word nigger clear as day. Everywhere. Fiji. Everywhere. And so, yes, there is a problem that emanates from this country. We're a joke in other countries in some classes. Because of the things that we do, we say we don't do this, but we do that. We say we're this great, but we show otherwise. So we need to improve that. So back to what I'm here for today. I want to share with you how I'm standing here before you. But I want to say this one thing. Look at the person sitting next to you. Think about the miracle that is that person. Every one of us started somewhere, whether it be on the African continent, the Native American continent, Australian continent. We all started from somewhere. For all those things to line up to put you here is God's work. It can only be. So thank you for joining us today. And if you can't hear me, please let me know. And this is also interactive. If you got questions, feel free to ask. One of the things that I'm going to tell you, I'm a storyteller, so I'll share this with you. When I ran for mayor, when I decided to run for mayor, it was the second year of my city council seat that I won by 70.25%. I was tired of the 5-hour meetings, the arguments, the meeting inefficiency, the sheer chaos in our city council meetings. And so at the end of my second year, I went home and told my wife, Norma, which we met in high school when we were 17, got married in 1985, and she still tolerates me and renews my contract every year. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And she said, Alex, you've never quit anything. Don't start now. I said, the only way I can fix it is to run for mayor. And she said, why are we talking about this? And she walked away. And so I made my announcement, I'm sitting in the room with my announcement. My family and friends knew I was going to run. Carla knew, my campaign manager. But I wanted to make it so the city of Albany could get used to the idea of having a different mayor. And some of the folks in here knows that my predecessor had a stranglehold in the city. She's 12 years as an incumbent. So what I did was I was asked to speak at LBCC during Black History Month. And I went third. And so what I did was, instead of doing a speech or a big PowerPoint presentation, I said, let's have a town hall. Because Benton Community College is a little walking distance from my home. And so I put a chair, they had a chair for me, some water. And I said, ask any question you want, let's have a conversation. I was scheduled for 45 minutes, went an hour and a half. And this young gentleman said, excuse me, it sounds like you're going to run for mayor. Did the whole, I think I am. And the young lady that was writing a story for LBCC said, can I write that down? I said, why wouldn't you? Because she didn't want to scoop the Democrat Herald. I said, I don't see them here. And so what happened was, it leaked that I was going to run for mayor. And people started bringing money to my house. One Saturday morning, when COVID hit, we had to close our office, so I moved back my business back to my home. But one Saturday morning in March, or it was actually April, There was a knock on my door Saturday morning at 7:30. And there was a woman going to work at Samaritan for a while. She says, my husband, I would like to give this money to you for your campaign. And Norma says, you need to get an office and get out of my house with this. So of course I have an office now. But leading up to the election, the biggest thing I heard in Albany was housing affordability. We do have, like most cities, a homeless issue. And I like to use the term unhoused, because they're experiencing housing insecurity, and we as a community need to be better at working with people that are experiencing that. But in general, we must be better together. There's no red and blue, it's purple. The combination of both bring us great ideas so we can move our city forward. And if you ever notice me in my public speaking events, I always wear a purple shirt. Every time, without fail. My picture that was up there is a purple shirt because I believe it takes all of us to bridge the gap and move our city forward, our country forward, our state forward. We cannot do that without talking to each other, working with each other, and being better to and for each other. So, election day, standing out in front of the Lynn County Courthouse, big four-wheel drive, black four-wheel drive, revs its engines, rebel flag, Trump flag in the back. I knew I was going to die in front of the courthouse. Truck flies up, slides, guy rolls down his windows. Hey, I just voted for you. God is my witness. If I had coffee that morning, I'd have to go change my pants. But what happened during that whole area, which is right across from City Hall, everybody stopped. Because they didn't know what was going to happen either. And after he did that and drove off, this lady walked up to me, and she's older, and she put her arms around me and said, I'm sorry, baby, he did not know what he just did. He didn't. He's 25, 30 years old. He had no clue as to what was running through my mind, or was possibly running through my bladder. But he had no clue. So anyway, I won the election. It was a great day for the city of Albany, for me and my family. Great day for people that supported me. But these are some of the things I did. After I was confirmed that I won, I put together my vision for Albany. And I gave it to the city manager and the executive staff. It's a 15-page document. Not a lot of detail, but just kind of general concepts of what I wanted to accomplish with Albany. One was meeting efficiency. 5-hour city council meetings should not exist. And this is another thing. People should not be allowed to monopolize the city council meeting with their information. So what I've done is you got a 3-minute time limit. And because of that, more people are engaging in our city council meetings. We could have 15 speakers, and every last one of them has an opportunity to talk to city council. And it's important because your voice is the reason we're here. We're here to serve you. So bridging that gap, bridging that communications gap, bridging that interaction gap, I take it very seriously. Servant leadership for me is really important. In my business, I serve seniors for the most part, and I serve my clients. But the way people help and serve each other is really important to me. I'm not the black mayor of Albany, I am the mayor of Albany. How do we build better communities? I think in Albany, what the biggest thing has been is that I will actually have a break in my day. I will get in my car and park in the neighborhood and walk that neighborhood. And people see me and go, what are you doing here, Mayor? I said, tell me about your neighborhood. And they will walk with me. And before you know it, you have 10 or 15 people walking with me through that neighborhood, asking me questions, and I'm asking them questions. Oh, you have a feral cat problem. Well, in my neighborhood, an eagle moved into the park. That took care of it. So we're going to import some more eagles. But what has happened is that everyone in Albany knows that they can call me. The card that I gave you, passed out in here, that's my cell phone number. You should not be afraid or in fear of not being able to connect with your servant leaders, your civic leaders. You should be able to call them anytime. So that's my whole campaign was being engaging, interactive, and transparent. I got nothing to hide. I make $218 a month stipend. What am I trying to hide from you? So being communicative, being connecting the right folks with the right resources. People call me and say, Mayor, this actually happened, Mayor, somebody dumped a bunch of illegal oil in this culvert going to the Calapooya River. It was after church. I went over there and somebody dumped a bunch of oil. I took a video, sent it to the Public Works Director. She sent it to Kristen Preston, which is one of the lead engineers. It was cleaned up the next day. The problem with city government is that not enough people feel that they can reach out to their servant leaders. My city council, I've encouraged them to at least see 5 people a week, whether it be a 15-minute conversation or a 1-hour coffee break. But at least see 5. There's 55,000 plus people in Albany, and they're afraid to talk to us. We have got to get rid of that. And so my race for me, I'm a human first. I've been called names that you would not call your enemies. People have vandalized my car. I carry extra windshield wipers in my car. But you know, I go on Facebook and social media and forgive them for doing that. I said, here's my phone number. Give me a call. Or I'll be at this coffee shop from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on Friday. Do they show up? The person doesn't, but everybody else does. So I lost one guy, but I got 15 new friends. You know, and so I don't know how much time he gave me, but I'm going to talk about a couple key things that are really important to me. Our cities are in a housing crisis, not just in Oregon, but all over the United States. 636,000 short, and that was November of last year. I don't know what it is now. But one of the things I've done with the Housing Affordability Task Force, we're not just looking at building, we're looking at process. Prior to becoming mayor, it took 16 weeks to get your development approved to the city of Albany. We're about 10, 11 weeks right now. The builders and developers love it, because now we're serving them to help them grow our city. But this is something that all mayors that I've talked to have a problem with. You get elected mayor, each one of us have appointments to citizens advisory groups or boards and commissions. And I went on Pendleton and looked at it. They don't have the terms of when they started, when they expire on their report, on their website. Ours does. But when I first got elected, I was looking at terms of 7 terms at 4 years, 6 terms at 3 years. All my predecessors' folks were her friends, right? So guess what I did the first week I got elected? Somebody say it. Fired them, every one of them. I purged. I literally said, thank you for your service, but it's time for new ideas. For the 36 positions that I vacated, I had 435 applications come in. Right? New ideas. With the 435 applications, I interviewed over 100 people and I picked 36. And they're doing their job. And you don't have to be a Democrat or Republican. You don't have to like me. But you have to commit to being engaged, interactive, and present. You have to be present and willing to meet with me at least once a month to give me an update. And to a credit, each person has done that. And because of that, we have almost 3,000 homes places to live being built in Albany right now. It's huge. So the character of the city, of every city, needs to change. We have to stop thinking black and white. It's we. And so this happened just after our George Floyd protest. I was watching Dry Bar Comedy, and now some of you may know about it. There was a comment that said he was in Enid, Oklahoma, and after the show, he was taking pictures. And because of that, this lady, he was with a couple, had his arm like this, older Caucasian couple, white couple. And the lady leans back and says, I've never been that close to a black man. There's Gensu knives. He went home back to Los Angeles, and that stuck with him. And he went home, and he went to a hardware store and took the paint chips. and started matching it up to his color. And his color was chocolate indulgence. So my car was vandalized for the third time, and I got angry. I was so angry I was crying, I was mad that the people would come to my home and do that. Just because of the color of my skin. So I went to Lowe's. So I'm in Lowe's doing the same thing as this young man was. I couldn't find my match. But the young lady, fortunately, that was at the paint counter, I used to umpire her softball games. She said, "Mr. Justin, what are you doing?" And I told her the story. She said, "Come here." So I was already ashy because I was working, so I put some lotion on. Y'all know, I was playing the flower, okay? And so I lotioned up my hands, and she scanned me 3 times. That's me. But I shared it on Facebook. The next day, 43 people went after the skin color scan. And so an artist reached out to me and said, we could make a mural in the city of Albany. So the Arts Commission picked it up. So right now, we're going to commission this artist, once we get the artist, the final design accepted, and people can go to Lowe's and get their skin color scanned, and we're going to fill it in. And this is Albany. And with our unhoused population, we are working on putting better resources available to them, making more resources available to them. 1, public-private partnerships. The governor, the state gave us $1 million, and municipalities $1 million. We're looking at building more shelters. But something I want you all, every one of you to think about. If we don't fix one thing, we will have a permanent class of unhoused people. That's sex offenders. They can't rent an apartment. They can't go into a shelter. Albany sex offenders on the registry are in our parks, our truck stops, and our rest areas. We must address this issue. How, I don't know. I don't have a PhD in sociology or one of the social constructs. I have no idea, but we need help to figure this out. Because we will have a permanent class of homeless folks if we cannot get them sheltered. And one person asked me, would you rather have me in the park or someplace in the shelter, in the house? Who knows? But it's a problem we all have. So the city of Albany is changing, and because the city of Albany is changing, 27 mayors have been to Albany to talk with me. We have an active mental health court, and this is something that all of you need to know about your cities. In the state of Oregon, there's a police certification, and all of us have to have some level of certification. There's only 3 in Oregon with a CALIA certification. CALIA is the highest level of police certification everywhere. The Japanese chief of police came to our evidence locker and did an inspection. No hits. We have to recertify every 2 years. Encourage your city council to spend the money to get your police department CALIA certified. Us, Corvallis, and Multnomah County, the only departments in the state of Oregon CALIA certified.
How's that spelled?
CALEA. It's an acronym. I can't remember the exact acronym, but CALIA certification is huge. We continue to fund it because it holds us accountable for our policing. The first act my chief police officer did when she got her job, she went to the police academy and fired somebody. My chief of police is 5'4", but she's 7 feet tall in my eyes. So, to do better, to be better together, and I have one more story after this, we must do some next steps. And whenever I do a public speech, I did the Interfaith Breakfast, you must have next steps, because if you don't have next steps, you're just talking to the wind. Actively participate in local government activities like focus groups. I have high school kids attending city council meetings. I have 14-year-olds watching city council meetings. I have parents saying, my son doesn't play video games on Thursdays anymore, or Wednesdays, because of the city council meeting. I go to every school. I took the survey, I did the background check, the whole 9 yards, because I want them to know that their servant leaders are listening. So focus groups and attend public hearings. We're making decisions right now for your grandchildren. Think about that for a moment. The stuff that we do now is for the people that live there, but a lot of things we do are for the future. So a city councilor, a servant leader must have sight for the now. But we also must have vision for the future. Intentionally engage and interact with the mayor and city council. So I changed the meeting time from 7:15 to 6 o'clock. So seniors and people with ADA issues, concerns, can catch the bus. They can get their dial right before it shuts down at 7. Right? I want everyone to have access to their city council and especially their mayor. You have a 3-minute time limit to speak to us. I want everyone to come to us with an issue. Also, the agenda gets out earlier. So it used to be out on Friday, now it's out on Thursday. I'm working to get it out on Wednesday. The reason for that is more public will see it before the actual meeting. Purposely educate ourselves about local and regional initiatives, land use issues. Right? Most people don't realize that the urban growth boundary is one of the reasons our cities don't sprawl out. But some cities are running out of land, buildable land. So House Bill 2001 and other initiatives are going to help us figure out middle housing, accessory dwelling units. I mean, all these things that the average citizen doesn't know we have to deal with. You know, people say the lights are off. Well, we have people do that. The water stopped running. We have people do that. But what we don't have is enough input from you to help us build the city. We encourage people to write us letters or come in and talk to us. Engage and educate our students about local government. We had the If I Were Mayor contest just recently in Albany. Middle school, high school, and elementary school. If you get a chance, look at our City of Albany website. 60 beautiful students submitted posters of if they were the mayor. But the kids that did not participate will all be participating next year. Because I went to each classroom and asked them to tell me about what they want for Albany. And I promise you not to do this. Never ask a group of 4th and 5th graders, what's the next question? Because they have them. Oh my gosh. But in one of the classrooms, there were 2 young ladies, 5th graders, talking about parks. And one said, I want more parks. And the other one said, where would you put them? Because I brought the map of the city. And these 2 young ladies got up on the board and started pointing out where they put a park. 5th graders. They want to know what's going on with their city. And because of the pandemic, they're watching everything we do. Everything. So whenever a young person writes me a letter, I write back that day. Because I want them to know that we're listening. We, the people in this room, know who can lead, that are willing to lead, and to step up to lead. Encourage that. I've been actively recruiting people to run for city council and even to run against me. Because I believe no anywhere should run unopposed. And so what I do is a person comes to me and says, I want to run for city council, I put them through Alex University. We go through the charter, the strategic plan, we go through the economic development plan, the land use plans, we go through all of that. And then I encourage them to meet with each of the directors, and the directors are on board with it. But now, this election coming up, I have 4 or 5 people running that weren't thinking about running in 2020. But they're educating themselves like I did. And I'll finish with, this is how I got involved with city council. My next door neighbor, Ray Kopczynski, bless his heart. That's a southern bless his heart. He came to me and said, have you been to the city council meeting? I said, no, I have not. He says, well, I'd like to go over this packet with you. It was about marijuana. It was that in the night 2017. And he said, is your son home? So my son was visiting for the weekend. So all 3 of us got 3 generations looking at this marijuana issue. And then from that moment on, I was invested in what's going on in the city. I was nervous because I was going to the meetings. I ended up putting meetings on my schedule. And then in 2018, early, he says, oh, by the way, I'm not running for office again. I'm like, well, who's going to replace you? straight face, deadpan, I was hoping you would. So I went and talked to my boss, and she said, that's your thing, I'll support you. And I won by 70.25%. And I say that again. I say that again because it's not the fact the margin I won by, it's just it took somebody to see in me that I could be a good leader of the city. And to this day, I thank him for encouraging me to pay attention to what's going on in the city. And because of that, Albany is growing. You know, and I want your cities to flourish as well. I want your mayors to call me. I have a mayor's phone book, so if you want me to talk with your mayor about your city, I'd love to do that. But we have to stop thinking about us and them and think about we together and moving forward better, okay? Thank you very much.
All right, friends. Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. I'm very thankful that we connected and very thankful that you can help bring these kind of conversations, especially as it relates to civic engagement and how we all need to be more knowledgeable of what's happening in local government. I always, when I travel, I ask like a waitress or something, like, do you know who your county commissioners are? It's important that we know the people that are making the laws that we have to be governed by, and knowing where we get to interject in those conversations. So thank you. I was reminded that some of you all may need to be checking out of your hotel rooms. Anybody need to check out? Okay. We're gonna take 15 minutes, and I know we're gonna get it all in. We've been networking, we've been crying, we've been praying, we've been preaching, like we've been teaching, all of it. Somebody said to me, you are full. And I said, I had no idea how full I really was. And so let's take about 15 minutes for those who need to get adjusted in their rooms. Take the time to do that. It's more time. If you see on your table, there are some bingo sheets. And this is just the crazy thought that I thought about. I know everyone doesn't know how to introduce themselves to others and really network. And so there are some great talking points on that sheet as you want to introduce yourself and meet people. And when we come back, we'll hear from our panel. And then there's a couple other people here that I will just have share briefly about their organizations. So everyone is starting to know what's happening in Black communities within rural communities. All right, so see you all in 15 minutes. Hello, Jesus. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right. Yay! Y'all, I know this has been a long 3 days for a lot of us. Many of you will be leaving here for a long drive home. My long drive home will be tomorrow. Who drove at least 8 hours to be here today? I got a 7.5-hour drive tomorrow, so I get it. Instead of reading the bios to save time, and I want you to be able to hear from my folks, and then I'm also going to have a couple other folks share their stuff. But two things, and I'm going to actually repeat this a couple of times before we're over, because I was asked to repeat that we do need help in identifying how we will provide quantitative and qualitative data for the work moving forward. Help, like capacity building. And it's great to have money, but that still means somebody has to do the work. And I need bodies, people like that I can just be like, please just do this, right? That can because it's getting to be a lot. I'm looking at my pile of receipts that I have to get reconciled in QuickBooks when I leave here, and it's already hurting my heart. So if you all know of any folks that can help We don't have a lot of money yet, but we can definitely offer something. I don't believe in asking anybody to do anything for free. And with that, I want to, I don't have anything to honor her with here today because I'm going to do something different, a different day. But before we get to the panel, 2020 I was asked to join or asked to apply to be a member for Oregon Health Authority's Health Equity Leadership Training Program. That was one of the most painful experiences of 2020. I am so tired of folks talking about they leading with race and don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then when they have people of different backgrounds in the room, they ignore us because they want their voice to still be heard. Do I need to say that again for the people in the back? Do you understand? Please, in your effort to look at DEI, because even getting to the regards to rural conference, I know there were a lot of white people sending out the Black Rural Network saying to their black folks, because that's how we get to the black folks, through the white folks, because it's Oregon, right? And they were like, oh, the Black Rural Network, and I was like, but yeah, there's a regards to rural conference 2 days before that. And I started telling agencies, because I'm learning where my power is in this work, I started telling agencies, if you're not willing, everybody's saying representation matters, we leading with race. And then you won't help your people get there. You won't pay for them to get there. You won't reimburse them. You won't pay for their time. And you won't allow them to connect with others, whether they're black, brown, or not. And I started telling organizations, if you don't send your folks that look like me to help share spaces that are traditionally not full of people that look like us, please don't ask the Black Rural Network to work with you. I'm serious. Because I see how money flows. I've started watching some stuff and I've started having some experiences. I was like, oh. So, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's time to even that playing field. Help us get into these places, in these spaces, where we can help meet people that we can connect with, and not just black people, right? Because it takes all of us. And we all have a part to play. And if we keep saying it's not in the rule book, change the rules. They're doing it in government every day. Change the rules. If you are an executive director, a CEO, a somebody in somebody's head something, change the rules to make sure that you're not just leading with race and doing land acknowledgments, but you are putting your dollars. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is where the dollars go. So don't come next year and talk about, oh, we couldn't get nobody here. Start putting it in your budget this year for next year. Because next year we will not be piggybacking off the Regards to Rural Conference. Because I think today has already proved to me that we need our own 2 days. So please prepare your hearts and your minds and your budgets. And as we do stuff throughout the year, send your people. Please. We can't do this if the people aren't there. Y'all know you got the money. There's federal money, grant money. Find it. Y'all know how. I had never wrote a grant in my life until Marcy was like, I want to give you a grant. I had never written a grant in my life. Every single grant that we have been funded with, I have written that application. I have never written a grant application in my life. It's possible. And y'all have the resources. Been done had. The resources. You don't have to look for them. So that's my plea today. That's my offering talk. All right. I'm going to ask those on our panel to please join us. Can I get some help getting some chairs? I see them over here, but it looks like they might need to. Really? Why are women getting up? Ladies, sit down. Ladies. There's some chairs right there. Thank you. Power of a black woman, y'all. again. There you go. Thank you. So, all right. It is 10:52. Our band will be here for us to shake a tail feather at noon. And I am so excited. I'm going to tell you this before she gets here. Lady A, I've known her for almost 20 years from Seattle. Used to go to the Triple Door in Queen Anne every Thursday night. Recently, because everybody was trying to do race right in 2020 after the death of George Floyd, I'm still bitter about 2020, if you can't tell. Lady Antebellum decided that they wanted to change their name. And guess who they took they tried to take her name, but when God gives you something, try as they might, the real Lady A will join us at noon. And I have been wanting to get her to Oregon for 8 years. And I said, one day, I'm going to be able to afford to get you here. Again, thank you to our sponsors because I spared no expense to make sure that we have the experience that everybody else always has. So, my panel, will you please join us? Promise King, Justice Raji, Mary Beers, Taylor Stewart, and I believe Mayor Johnson, you're going to join as well. The first four, I'm going to ask that you let Mary go first. We are leading with Black women today. Thank you so much, Black women. Y'all are looking beautiful. We are so diverse in how we can wear our hair and how we can switch our hips. But I'm so thankful that each one of them have decided to be here today. I'm going to ask them to take about 5 to 7 minutes each to introduce themselves, a little bit of their story and what they're working on. So as folks are looking for where can we give our resources, here you go. Thank you.
Y'all hear me? All right, I guess we're starting with Black women today. 5 to 7 minutes to talk about who I am. It's a longer story than that. Okay. My name is Mary Beers. I was born in Manila, Philippines. I'm a naturalized U.S. citizen. My birth father is from and still resides in Lago, Nigeria. I was raised in Oregon with 2 brothers. My older brother is from India, and my younger brother is from Vietnam, and he's half black like me. We spent most of our childhood, they couldn't figure out if I was just a very young teen mother or if we were really related. And it was an interesting talk as adopted kids when you are asked who your real family is. My experience in Oregon has been an interesting one. I am a very rural person. My parents were rural people. And even though I was raised in McMinnville and went to school in McMinnville, we lived about 15 miles outside of that, and my parents still have a little hobby farm out there. So then I grew up there, and then I went to university and did my undergrad in music education and vocal performance. And I did my master's in teaching. And then I did my student teaching, and I realized it ain't for me. So I met a boy. And this boy he lived in very rural Western Lane County. He was a 6th generation homesteader on his dad's side. They settled up Indian Creek in the 1880s. And then on his mom's side, she is a Siuslaw native. So her people have been there since time immemorial. And he runs the culture department down there. So when I met this boy and we decided to have our lives together, there was no bringing him out of Western Lane County off of his mountain in very rural Western Lane County. So I moved my life there. And we have 2 beautiful children. And I realized that there is room for service in my community. even though when I arrived, I was a talking point and not a member. So I'll get to the hat that my picture is showing today, but I do a few things. In my actual day-to-day life, I teach financial literacy to Oregonians across the entire state for free with a nonprofit called Financial Beginnings. It is good work. I was led to that work after 15 years in the banking industry, the last 10 of them as a mortgage loan officer. And the reason I stayed in so long is because only 40% of loan officers are women in this country. Only 8% are Black. Only 6% are Asian. Less than 6% are LGBTQ. Less than 1% are Native. So I thought I was representing a group that was underrepresented. But it's really hard to represent in a good way when the industry that I was in is very responsible for some of the injustices that are happening to everybody. So my favorite parts of my job was teaching financial literacy, and then I found out that there are people who were paid to do that. So I got out and went into that work, and I love it. In my spare time, I raised my 2 amazing babies. I am the director of music for a local children's music theater company called Crow. I serve on the board of the Sayusla Outreach Services, which is Western Lane County's only advocacy group for those suffering from domestic violence, sexual assault, houselessness, crisis, things like the LIHEAP program and things like that. We're the only organization that can help folks get those services. And then, in a special election, I was appointed to the Mapleton School Board. Okay, I mean, yeah, thank you. Thank you. That is my place of leadership in my community. It is a place where I feel like I can make some change and do some good. But it was interesting because when I joined the board, the community immediately assumed I was appointed because they needed to check a box in response to everything that had happened. To which, my favorite thing, I was just gonna cuss. It was a crap storm on social media there for like 5 days, and I was like, what am I gonna get into? My favorite one was somebody had taken a screenshot of the census data and circled the African statistic in Mapleton and the Asian statistic in Mapleton, and they are 0. And they said, you aren't representing anybody, you don't exist here. So I laughed because what else was I gonna do? I'm like, well, clearly I am. And so are my kids. And so when I joined the school board, there was a lot of trickle down conversations and buzzing with the kids, which is a very interesting thing, how we as adults and we as parents influence our children's way of thinking. So what my son, who is going to be a freshman in the fall, was part of that conversation in different ways. Sometimes people would talk to him directly, and sometimes they wouldn't. And that was part of it. Like, it's not always what they say to you, it's what they don't say. And so I showed up, I just went. I participated in their events. I go and I teach financial literacy 2 days a week at the school. And all of a sudden these kids and these youth come up to me, and it's not because of anything other than the fact that I show up. And I'm Ramel's mom, and Ramel's really cool, and so am I. So anyway, this is just supposed to be an introduction. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how I got here. But this is a really great moment for me because this is the most Black people I have spent time with in a room since I moved to Mapleton, which was 16 years ago. And even though the hats that are many and it seems very small, and my community is really big, and I'm really excited. Thank you. Who's next?
name is Promise King. I bring you greetings to our ancestors and to our elders present, and to those in the battlefield, physically, spiritually, and to Lucretia who's brought us here, and to all of our elders and our young ones present. My name is Promise King. I was born in a village in Niger Delta, Nigeria. Yes, I just met my little cousin. My parents were diplomats, so that means I grew up in 5 countries. We settled in Australia. Went to college in the UK, had my master's and bachelor in communication and public policy. That's actually not the story. The story is the illusion that I watched on television as a student at University College London of America and what it stands for. I saw a really clean street. I saw a lot of beautiful houses. I saw Eddie Murphy and Michael Jackson. An illusion of America, of freedom and liberty wheeled in my head until I got here. My story has not been the same. My illusion has vanished. The reality is dawned on me. So today, I am giddy, not because of the chaos and the confusion, but I see beautiful faces among you. You gotta understand I'm a tribal person. I was born in a tribe with a warrior spirit, but a delicate heart. So when I see you, I see a monument of mercy and grace and excellence. So my story is large and attached to your story. We're not supposed or made to be individual. We're made to be whole, each of us, supporting, cementing. So my career has been in journalism. I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm a system thinker, I'm a campaign hack. I've done all that. More importantly, I'm a black man. I'm proud of it. I am sure you're proud of it. There are so many ligaments in my story of struggle and in trying to help my people here. First, I was a reporter, covered City Hall in Portland. That was my first job coming to the United States. I went to do an interview with the Oregonian, and they said, well, we want to hire you as a black reporter. I said, no, I'm not a black reporter. I used to be really hot-headed. So I told the editor, Bill Hilliard, who was African-American, I said, no, I'm not going to sit here and let you downgrade my education and my experience, so to keep your job. I walked across the river, picked a job with the Portland Observer, one of the first African-American newspapers in Northwest. And of course, it wasn't about the salary or the money because I come from privilege. I'm okay with a bowl of rice and stew, but it's about our collective dignity, respect for our dignity, the sacredness of our human life, and our human dignity. So I sojourned as a journalist covering issues, community development, serving in a whole lot of committees. I left journalism, went back to Salem. I was hired as the first black chief of staff in the Oregon legislature. Served in the Oregon legislature, moved from there to the state treasury. My experience there is another story. I broke the code there, gave $400 million to Jackson Security out of $75 billion. And that's the highest amount of money that any black person and person of color has ever managed in the entire Oregon story. when I did that, I went back after that deal was sealed. I went to my treasurer. I said, Randall, I quit. And he said, why? I said, my job is done. Then I came back to Portland and became a columnist writing on race, politics, and issues and policy that affect our folk. And I did that on transportation, environment, social justice, community development, economic development. So I've been moving, working, work. I know the issues. So when I'm at the table, you better buckle up. So, can I be myself? Okay. All right. Yeah. Be careful what you ask for. So, I won an award from Society of Professional Journalists as one of the best columnists. Then from there, I went to the city of Portland as a senior policy advisor to one of the city commissioner, being asked to preside over what we do with minority contractors, to design policy and action plan to include minority contractors, increase black participation in city contracts. I quit that job because I am now the person you mess around with words. I saw the city went down at the point when they want action, outcome. I'm about outcome and actions. So I left and founded the League of Minority Voters. Why did I found it? I served in many jobs when I was just the only person black. And whenever I asked, they said, we can't find another person. I took call the governor or the Senate, the senators, those who represent us, and I asked them the question, what are you going to do to our folk? And the answer is always, we're making progress. I say your progress is not enough. Let me tell our white brothers and sisters here. When we ask you to help black folk and brown folk, we're not asking for a favor from you. We're asking you to save yourself, save your city, save your county, and save your state. Because when you save any one of us, you give us opportunity, you are saving your community from chaos and arrest, civil arrest. So when we appeal to your conscience and appeal to your leverage, we're not saying save us, we're saying save your families. Because when our families are fine, yours is fine. When our families are not, yours is not. There is no amount of wall you can put in your building to stop the anger and the resentment and I don't want to use the word curses. I'm a man of faith, so I cannot curse, but you're going to hear a lot of curses from. But as my mayor said, we should be united in one accord to save ourselves, to be a collective consciousness, struggle in one accord to share opportunities, and that's what the League of Minority Voters have been about. We've not been about partisan, Democrats or Republican. We've been about how can we leverage your life, your livability, your privilege, your assets to lift up black and brown people in these states. This is our message. It's not always pretty for my friends from the Democratic left or from my friend from the Republican right. But this is the message that can save us. Because I see ourselves in ourselves. Like I have always said, in my village, will tell you, when two elephants fight, it's not the elephants that suffer because they're big enough to take their headlock. It's the grass in the forest that suffers. When you are fighting over partisanship, it's the agenda of the black and Latino families that suffer. So when you call on us, like my sister Latricia said, you better make it a value and you better bring budget to the table. So I'm going to muzzle my voice and let others speak. I told Patricia, don't invite me to spaces like this because I don't want to offend anybody. I'm getting a little gray hair in my head, so I want to pipe down and give young folk the microphone. So the floor is yours, young man.
Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Stewart and I live in Portland, Oregon. And I'm here today because of a trip I took in 2018 to the American South. The most impactful part of this trip for me was when we went to Montgomery, Alabama to see the Equal Justice Initiative's 2 new museums. The first was the Legacy Museum, which chronicled the link between slavery and mass incarceration with the belief that slavery didn't end in 1865, it just evolved. This museum taught me about the way that systems of racial injustice don't end, but they continue in the state, the name of the county, and then the names of everyone who was lynched in that county. What personalized this history for me the most was seeing names with the last name Stewart, knowing that simply time and place separated me from the name on that pillar. This was a profound encounter with history for me, and I wanted to bring back this experience to Oregon. Luckily, in conjunction with the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, the Equal Justice Initiative has also started the Community Remembrance Project, which aims to work in the communities where the lynchings of African Americans took place to find healing and reconciliation through a sober reflection on history. And I couldn't believe that I had to go all the way to Montgomery, Alabama, just to learn that there had been at least one widely documented lynching victim of African American heritage here in Oregon. His name was Alonzo Tucker, and he was lynched in Coos Bay, Oregon in 1902. There was an interest forum online about getting involved with the Community Remembrance Project. And I would love to say that when I first saw that, I was immediately like, sign me up. How can I help? But in reality, I was a recent college grad with no relevant experience, and I ultimately figured to myself, who am I to really think that I can be of any help? So I decided that I wasn't going to get involved. But thankfully, a John Lewis quote inspired me to change my mind. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? From traveling the South, I also learned that it was the stories of everyday citizens that paved the way for justice, and that it was more than just the Martin Luther Kings, the Rosa Parks, the Malcolm X's. And so from that experience, I learned that you don't have to be an extraordinary person to do extraordinary things. And so that gave me the courage to reach out to the Equal Justice Initiative, and by simply asking the question, how do you reconcile lynching? I've learned that there are 3 R words within this idea of reconciliation: remembrance, repair, and redemption. And then in order to get to that last R word of redemption, we need to have the courage it takes to undertake the first 2. So for 3 years, I worked with the community of Coos Bay, Oregon to memorialize Alonzo Tucker. In February 2020, we held a soil collection ceremony near the spot of the lynching and collected 2 jars of soil, with each bit of soil telling part of Alonzo Tucker's story. One jar was sent back to the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, and the other is now on display at the Coos History Museum. In June 2021, we unveiled a historical marker in the community to memorialize Alonzo Tucker and the thousands of other African Americans who were lynched in this country. The historical marker was more than just a retelling of history, it was also the making of history, as over 600 people, double that who were at the 1902 lynching, gathered to pay witness to Alonzo Tucker's story and add this new chapter to his history. I believe that while we can't change the past, we can always change our relationship to the past, and that we have the power to write new endings to stories of injustice. There are 2 dates of significance on the historical marker: 1902, when the lynching occurred, and 2021, when the historical marker was unveiled. And we can't fully understand the story of Alonzo Tucker only focusing on the 1902 date, as his story now continues on into 2020 and 2021, when that same community where his lynching occurred used his memory as inspiration for becoming a community more committed to the ideals of truth, justice, and reconciliation. And so, this was the remembrance part of this lynching reconciliation. And now we are called to repair the fundamental question of who our society believes deserves death, because the answer continues to be people that disproportionately look like this panel, like many of you. The value of our lives is tied up in this question. Our failure to remember and repair the legacy of lynching is what allowed it to evolve. Because at the same time lynchings in the United States were going down, state-sanctioned executions were going up. During the 1930s, 2/3 of all executions in the United States were of African Americans. Between 1910 to 1950, while only making up 22% of the South's population, African Americans accounted for 75% of all of those who were executed in this region, and this disproportionality continues to today, where African Americans make up 13% of the population, but 41% of those who are on death row. We have been too busy asking ourselves the question, does this person deserve to die for their crimes, that we haven't first asked ourselves the question, do we deserve to kill? So, this history and many of our other histories of racial injustice are still relevant to us today because of the ways that they evolve into the present. And so I started this lynching reconciliation work, but expanded it to other histories of racial injustice in Oregon. Most specifically, I started working with communities about their history as being a sundown town. Sundown towns were communities that purposefully excluded African Americans and other racial minorities from living in their community. I started work with the community of Grants Pass, Oregon. There was a I picked easy places. There was a sign in Grants Pass in the late 1960s, early 1970s that said, "Nigger, don't let the sun come down on you here." So this work is called the Sunrise Project, with the idea that sunrise is the opposite to sundown and signals the start of a new day. Our tagline is from sundown to sunrise as we try and create this idea of a sunrise community. What I love to tell people is that I wish it was my idea to use the word sunrise, but that idea came from a 69-year-old white male truck driver from Grants Pass. But that's sort of the beauty of this work, bringing together ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And so right now we're working on an educational resource about what sundown towns look like, both nationally and locally, how that exclusion evolved into the present, and then the next steps a community can take to building a more inclusive environment. And so the goal, similar to the story of Alonzo Tucker, is to rewrite the ending to the story of a sundown town and create this ending where a formerly exclusionary community can become one of the communities most intentionally committed to inclusivity because of their history. The hope is to culminate this work in the installation of a historical marker. One side talking about racial exclusion in Oregon and Grants Pass, and the other side functioning as the community's stated commitment to inclusivity. So while it's the culmination of work, it's really the start of a never-ending journey to live out the ideals that are written on the marker. And if we're successful, this will be the first marker about sundown towns in the entire United States. The goal is then to expand the Sunrise Project into other communities in Oregon and hopefully create a blueprint for other communities across the country to follow. And so, I do this work because of three of the most important lessons of my life that I learned on my trip to the South that I want to leave with you today. The first is that it is okay to believe in something even when you've never seen it before. And it's okay to see something even when others don't believe in it. 4 years ago, most people thought I was crazy for thinking I could put a historical marker about lynching in Coos Bay, Oregon. But what Coos Bay taught me is that no matter where you go, you can find enough people who are willing to choose justice if given the opportunity. It's just a matter of getting them to see where there's been injustice. The second is that it's less about being the right person for the moment as it is about doing the right thing for the moment. When I was younger, I used to think that it was remarkable people that did remarkable things. But the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that it's remarkable things that make remarkable people, and I believe that you can be a part of something that's remarkable. But third, and most importantly, and it really is just that simple, don't underestimate your ability to be the change you want to see in this world, because let me tell you, you don't need to be an extraordinary person to do extraordinary things. Thank you.
Peace. My name is Justice Raji. I am the director of the Reimagine Oregon project. Reimagine Oregon is an accountability tool that was started to begin the end of systemic racism in the state of Oregon, asking our elected officials specifically to take leadership in our moment of crisis, one of many in the history, but of 2020 in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. Community members were called together and invited electeds together to respond not just to the moment, but to the prior identified work that was captured in projects such as the State of Black Oregon, Imagine Black's work with the People's Plan, some of the other cities that have had racial equity studies, and I'm sure we can find documentation in other parts of our state where folks have pointed to things that would improve the conditions of Black folks. And if you know about good public policy, majority of things that improve the condition of Black folks improve the condition of everyone. And instead of acknowledging and apologize and acknowledge, we said, when can you get these things done? When can you deliver? Who can deliver? Who will take leadership? And that's on the elected side. And from the community side, because the community's always there, the community got their part. We need our elected officials to step up and take leadership. And not do everything, but do what you can and commit to doing it. I've been in this role for about 8 months. And I'm the steward of these ideas. These are not all my originate came from the people. And I like to remind people that if you go to the website and see the list of demands, it's a broad set of things. These are not just the creations of one person, but the asks of many. Outside of that, I'm also the co-founder of the Beaver and Black Parent Union, which similarly came together in my community around organizing and supporting the needs of the parents of Black children, which are not always Black folks. But also, again, the key thing there is supporting a positive outcome and asking our elected officials and asking our schools to respond to our needs and protect those who may be most vulnerable. A piece overall, though, you should know about me is, although I'm a much more mellow and relaxed person this time, I started out in life, as a young man, as someone that, as I like to say, was ready to throw a brick. Right? And that means I had enough. And I would not abide, someone either putting me or others in jeopardy or in danger in the name of whatever they call their particular reasoning for doing that. Over time, I learned that always being ready to throw a brick is not necessarily a place where you can be if you want to be there for your children. It's not also, overall what I was raised with. I always cite that my grandfather was a pillar of his community, primarily because no matter who was on this street, no matter who was on his block, he looked out for you, he knew your name, he knew who was in the trouble, he knew who wasn't. He would always help you. He would also let you know where the line was, right? And we have an obligation as community members, as a family to each other, as humans, to be caring, be kind, be courteous, be compassionate, but also to let you know when you're going over the line. Let's come on back, right? Let's find and remember our humanity. Remember our value systems that many of us came from. I come to this meeting today as the one who honors the one who calls you to service. Right? And I thank Anisha for her work in creating the space. Right? Because we learn that often many of us want to do, but we know we can't do it all. And when someone calls us to action, it sometimes gives us purpose, gives us space, gives us a direction where we know we can contribute, but we know we do not need to carry it all. I think it is preeminent and very important that we understand that. The other point I like to say sometimes is I am the unofficial ambassador, at least to the state of New Jersey and the city of Pittsburgh, of what's happening with Black folks in Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest. Because the question I always get whenever there's a protest or a news story, because I don't know what you know about what the rest of America talks about Oregon, All they see is whatever happens in that park down there by City Hall in Portland. They have no idea about the beauty of this state, about the many different lands and areas that people call home, about the deep, rich history of the folks that are here that call this their home from time immemorial, to those who have adopted this place as their home in whatever time. I've been here for 18 years and I have to claim it now, as I've been told, and I do, and I like it. So when folks call me and something happens down there, oh, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, there's like literally thousands of miles of Oregon. All of that, I mean, it's bad, but all of that happened right in that space. There's a whole other story that the world's not telling you, all right? And often we are, as our community, is left out of that story. I'll never forget the first time I came to Oregon. It was sunny and beautiful at the coast in March in 2004. That's Oregon tricked me, because I thought it was like that all the time. But as I moved around the city, moved around the state, and I was asking people questions, right? And seeing how folks responded to me based on not just what I was told about this state, but what actually happened. And largely what I found is people were welcoming, people were kind, people were happy to see me, people were curious, like, wow, how'd you find your way all the way out here? I was like, well, I don't know, you were here, it seems like a great place to be. I hope this will be home for me and my family. So with that, I think the biggest thing to me is always being human in the moment. That is our value and our importance. We come from, as an African-American person, our relationships are the highest order for our cultures, and many of us also come from other cultures share that reality. And the most important thing is, can I be with you right now? Can I be present for you right now? Other things may come up later. We might need to talk about budgets or cleaning up the tables or making sure the lights stay on. That's all important. But in the moment, we have to stick to our core values that we care about other people, care about their well-being. And that's what I try to do in my work and the places that I show up, whether that's civically, as service, especially in something that I'm paid to do. But most importantly, I think that's my mandate. And that's what my forefathers and several, I have a whole list of people have mandated for me to do. And so I try to live that out. I'm also trying to be brief, so I'm not going to talk too much more. I just want to share that to get us started. And thank you for having me here today.
So hi, Alex Johnson II, the Mayor of Albany, Oregon. I identify and I can relate to everything these wonderful people have said. But the young man with the sundown towns, late 1999, James Lewin came to Oregon State University and did a speech on his books. He did talks on his books. Lies My Teacher Told Me, Lies Across America, and Sundown Towns. And he talked about GP and a few other cities. And I've been there for my business. And literally, when I showed up to Shady Cove, Oregon, I was the only black person in the town. I was followed to my appointment. The sheriff actually smelled his lights up, put the horn on, and the lady called and said, "Jim, leave him alone, he's my insurance agent." And that happened several times. And so my relationship with Oregon has been quite unique in that Oregon lied to me the first time I came here. I came up with my ship in July for the Rose Festival. Well, I based my decision on moving here because it was gorgeous. Yeah. So I showed up November 4th to start my job at HP, and it didn't stop raining until June 21st. Was not happy. But what happened to us, my wife and I and my family, is that my corporate apartment ran out after 60 days and when I was working at HP. But no one would rent to us. In fact, we looked at 13 apartments in Corrales, because I wasn't sure I wanted to stay here because of the rain. And we looked at 9 in Albany. And my wife wasn't working because we wanted to get settled, at least find a place. And I wasn't going to buy until I knew I wanted to live here. And so she would go fill, my wife's Hispanic, and she'd go fill out the paperwork, and I'd get off work at HP and I would sign the paperwork. Oh, excuse me, sir, apartment's been rented. I was lucky enough to meet a guy named Glenn Conser. He had a brand new duplex he's going to rent in Albany. And this man asked me, "Are you having a hard time finding a place to rent?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "You know what? You can have this place." Didn't check my credit, He didn't ask for my driver's license. You and your family can have this place. Flash forward to 2020. I was announced I was running for mayor, and his baby brother, Matt, was in my office as one of those developers that wanted to talk about me running for office. And Glenn never told his family the story of how he actually met me. I was sitting in this room with 9 multimillionaires, and Matt said, I'd like you to change the culture at City Hall. Because over the years, we've developed an adversarial relationship with the citizenry of Albany. And he wanted to change that. And so I put that on my list of things to do, change the culture. Going from an adversarial mindset to a service mindset. So I told my story about how I met the concert family. This man cried because he never knew that I would not be in Albany if it wasn't for his big brother. And he's him and his family have been wonderful. Our daughters played soccer together. But that family supports me because I execute on what I say I'm going to do. But the thing about Albany for me is its police department. And I say this with all sincerity. My mother was one of the first black policewomen in the state of California. She was sworn in 1961. She retired from the police department in Imperial, California, and became a juvenile corrections officer, rose to the rank of, she was under second command. She died in 2005, but her career educated me about law enforcement. And my experiences are different than many people. I grew up playing soccer and baseball and football with police officers' children, because I was one. But when I came to Corvallis and I started my job, I just was celebrating getting out of the Navy. They gave me a big check to go away, which is great. And so I bought my wife a BMW wagon, brand new, $52,000. I'm driving to Corvallis one day in that brand new car. I got pulled over. And in the next 3 months, I got pulled over 7 times. Not one ticket, but I pulled over 7 times. And so the last police officer that pulled me over was the first police officer that pulled me over. I said, you know, it seems like you guys like me a lot. I said, I've been pulled over by several of you, and this is the second time you pulled me over. If you wanted my number, just ask me. I said, well, I'm happy to marry, straight, be serious with you. And oh, the face was wonderful, it's priceless. If I had a cell phone, he probably shot me, but it was good. But this is what I said to him, and that was the last time I got pulled over in Corvallis, Oregon. I said, BMW stands for Black Man Working. That was the last time I got pulled over in the city of Corvallis. But I knew I was not buying a home there because of that. Because I was lucky, I was blessed. What about that young man at Oregon State University walking down the street? What about that young black woman that's in the store buying groceries getting accused at Fred Meyer, which just got outed for following black people to the store? Y'all know the one. Y'all know the one. And she knows, we've all been through it. One of the things that my goal for the city of Albany is to change the way people see us, to be people of color. So I get out there. When somebody confronts me on social media, I give them my phone number, and I say, meet me at this coffee shop, let's talk about it. I'm unapologetically black. I love who I am. I'm comfortable in my own skin. But I know that there's people in Albany that are sick and tired of being sick and tired of all different races, creeds, and colors. Females, LGBTQ+, they're sick and tired of it. For me, raising 2 biracial children to be great human beings, one's an entrepreneur, one's the product manager of a company in Vancouver, both college graduates, both of them are giving me grandchildren, thank God. All we have to do, what I had to do, was convey to them that I am American just as much, if not more, than you are, and this is why. And people stopped arguing with me because they can't just, if the only issue they have is my skin tone, I said, that makes you the one with the problem. I don't care what color you are. If you're a good person or you're a bad person. Either you can come to my house for barbecue or you can't. There's the line. And I've had people ask me, Alex, why don't you invite me to your barbecues? You have to ask me the question. I see how you treat your wife. I see how you talk about people behind their back. You're not coming to my house. And a few people here know this. I refereed youth sports in Oregon for 25 years football, 13 years fast pitch softball, boys and girls sport. I've been called goon, gorilla, monster, monkey. These are quite educated people. These are by people driving BMWs and Lexuses and Texas. People that have PhDs, people that have, all kinds of different jobs. All because one of my officials blew a call, or they thought they blew a call. I've had people knock on my front door on a Saturday morning. Why was this call made? What's your name? But the thing is, over time, people started thinking, this guy's all right, because he didn't eject me. Now, I did eject a few coaches, but people said, I'd like to get to know you because the way I treated you the other day was inappropriate, and I apologize for that. My head got away from me. But over time, I built up relationships with those folks, and now they're my biggest allies. 48% of my campaign money for mayor came from Republicans, 48% came from Democrats. And it's because I will work with you if you come with ideas and solutions. If you come ranting, we're done. I have no time for you. What I like about Albany, honestly, we're hub city. People who come in north and south, east and west come through Albany. We want Albany to be a welcoming city. We want you to come to Albany and enjoy yourself. But in my life as the city and elected official, we cannot get anything done if we do not talk to one another. Not at one another, talk to one another. Work with one another. And I do say this in every one of the speeches I give is we must be better together. We must be. There's no way around it. We can't get anything done if it's us and them. We must be better together. And I think one more story that this happened, and it was, I have to put the letter on social media. When I first ran for mayor, I basically saved my constituents money by putting a sticker over my city council yard signs. And people that first supported me, I gave them those signs until my new order was ready. And this is one of the moments in Albany I knew things were different, it was going to change. I gave my sign to this lady, and she was walking her dog that next weekend, and she saw my sign next to a Trump sign. And she called and says, come and get your sign. I can no longer support you. Of course, I go pick up the signs and lay in the middle of the street. I get there, and I walk down to the corner to see what she was talking about. There was a Trump sign, walk away, my sign. And I'm looking at the front door, there's an older couple still up there, and they're laughing, what the hell are you doing here? You should be out campaigning. I've been their agent for 8 years. I've been their insurance agent for Medicare for 8 years. This lady didn't know that. But across the street, there was a Biden-Harris sign. There was a lady outside watering their grass. She said, are you Councilor Johnson? I said, yes, I am. Can I have that sign? So right across the street from a Trump Johnson sign, there was a Biden Johnson sign. The lady sent me a nice letter. She sent me an apology letter. I didn't understand. I didn't know until they told me why I should support you. Albany is ready, and most of your cities are ready too. Recruit people to run for office. Encourage people to run for office. It's a thankless job. It's a no-paying job. But there are people in your community that may be in this room with you that will take the leap if somebody says, I'll support you. Yes. You can do this. And if not them, it's you. Yes. So don't be afraid. If you need my phone number, it's my cell. Run for office. We should not have anyone in this state or any city running unopposed. We should not have that. And I can't tell you how important this is for me and I mean this, if you ever need me to help you with how to file or how to get your supplies, how to set up meetings with people in the constituency, call me. I will drive to you, I will fly to you, we'll make it happen. Because I want us to be represented in every corner of the state. We cannot do that unless we support one another. So thank you.
All right, friends, we are in the home stretch. Y'all have hung in here with me. Thank you. Y'all hung in here with each other. Thank you. Thank you to our panel, Justice, Mayor Alexander, Mary, Promise, Taylor. I wanted to do Q&A, but we're not going to be able to. So here's what we're going to do. Y'all know who these people are. You've heard some of their story. I encourage you to connect with them. They are setting up for lunch right now. Yay. We're doing a salad bar because I don't know about you, but I cannot drive more than 4 hours on a heavy, heavy stomach. So I wanted to make sure that you all would be safe getting out of here, but still be fed. So when they're done, I'm actually, Ezell. Mr. Ezell, come bless the food, please. And give us a blessing to end this portion of the conference. And y'all gonna eat, and then we're gonna dance. And I need some of y'all to dance with me because this has been a journey getting here, and we need to shake it off. All right? Thank you.
If you would indulge me and show reverence for the Creator, or creativity, or divine energy, however you connect. My gateway to spirituality is Christianity, so I'm going to lead us in this prayer, bless the food. So I'm going to ask for those who would show reverence, however that looks for you. For me, I'm going to bow my head. Gracious God, Father God, Mother God, we come to you right now and say thank you. Thank you for the spirit of change. Thank you for the spirits of perseverance, joy, unity, prosperity, and laughter. They're all present here today. God, we ask that you bless the food that we're about to receive. Let it be nourishing to our bodies. And God, if you would, we know you can do all things. Let it go to the right places on our body, God. We don't want to get big from it, God. Just let it go to the right places. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
All right. Erica, is the food ready? Almost. They're almost there. So folks, get up, stretch. With this line of folks in black walk out, you can start making your plates. Lady A and her band will get set up here, and we're gonna party on our way out the door. Again, thank you so much. There's so many people I wish I could thank by name, but I thank every single one of you for being here today. Yeah.
We need keyboard in his monitor. He can't hear anything.
In the piano.
It's in the wrong monitor. It's good now.
Can I get some keys in my monitor, in my ear monitors? Just a little bit, please. Yeah, you guys play. And can I have some drums? There we go. There we go. Now you can take it down. Lenicia. Excuse me. So hard. Thank y'all for having us. Again, I'm not your typical blues singer. We hope to bring a message to you. It's Sunday morning, y'all. We hope you've had a great conference since you've been here. I want to introduce the band to you real quickly. On piano, we have Mr. Paul Richardson, the professor, is what we call him. On bass, the renowned and worldwide bass player, Mr. John Studemeyer. On guitar, the ultimate in guitarist, show your love for Mr. Herman Brown. Background vocals, we have Miss Mattia Oliver, gospel recording artist Mattia Oliver. On backgrounds, we have recording artist, songwriter, producer, Ms. Roz Royster McCommon. And last but not least, put your hands together for our stage manager, producer, songwriter, vocalist, artist, Mr. John Oliver III. We call him J.O.3. So let's have some fun. Now y'all feel free to dance. We only gonna be here for an hour. So you might want to get your groove on. So your Sunday workout, that's right, get your Sunday workout on. We're gonna do a song right here from the very first album, and please feel free to come and get an album or a t-shirt from us. Take us home with you. This is Blues in the Key of Me. You heard the stories, all the jive. People saying blues is dead, is nothing but lies. I got a memo for young believers, and it says that blues is alive in me. See, I may not be blues to everybody. What you say? Blues in the key of me. Blues of the play of man. Blues in the key of me. I may not be blues to everybody. Last Thursday, it's Sunday, y'all, and I'm broke again. I get hate, I'm in love, 'cause through it all, God shines down from above. I may not be blue to everybody. What you say? Blues in the key of me. That's for the sea, y'all. Blues in the key of me. Blues in the key of me. I may not be to everybody. Play the blues for me. I just got paid last Thursday. It's Sunday, we down in Pendleton, and I'm broke again. I get hate. I'm in love, but through it all, God shines down from above. I may not be blue to everybody, but it's blues to me. Let's sing, y'all. It's blues in the key of me. Say it one more time. Blues in the key of me. And it's blues in the key of me. Blues in the key of me. I may not be blue to everybody.
Lady A, how you feeling?
You know what? I'm feeling fine.
Are you feeling fine or are you doing fine?
I'm actually doing fine.
Maybe a little bit of both, huh?
When somebody asks you how you doing, you tell them, take a note out of my book, from my song book, doing fine. Doing fine.
Come on now, everybody. Come on, are you ready? Let's go. I'm gonna Mississippi music, brother. Woke up this morning, sunlight in my eyes. Sweat coffee, it's time to rise. Sang hard all week, now I'm ready for the weekend. I'm going down to Pendleton, y'all. Do it all over again. You ask me how I'm doing. If I'm loving life, I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Yes, I'm doing fine. Sing Mississippi, where I like my second home. Jackson, Clemson, I'm never alone. I drive down to Nashville, to Memphis, Tennessee. I'm gonna sing my heart out with my band down to Tennessee. Because you ask me how I'm doing. I'm loving life, I'm doing fine. Doing fine. I'm quite sweet, then I'm on to the Netherlands. I blues the French, y'all. I'm taking everywhere I can. It's like my feet got no place to time. I get to sing for folks like you. I hope that it's fine. Because you ask me how I'm doing. I'm loving life, I'm doing fine. So if I tried to kill us, turns one against another. But how you get around that, y'all? Love your sisters and brothers. Don't let nobody steal what joy you have. Don't make good music. But I'm a simply man. Ask me how I'm doing. I'm loving life. I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Yes, I'm doing fine. Take a red eye home for you won't dance. I see my people go to church, y'all, so you know I got to pray. Just like my feet got a place with God. I got to sing for folks like you. I hope I made you smile. Because you ask me how I'm doing. Really, I'm loving life. I'm doing fine. Are you having a good time? Oh, yeah. All right. You know what? Throughout everything we've been through, you know what the thing we got to do is we just got to keep our head to the sky. Keep our head to the sky. Faye Wu, that's what we thought about while we was driving down here. Y'all remember this? Y'all remember this? Keep your head to the sky. Keep your head to the sky. When you look up at the clouds, can't you see you can almost reach up and touch the clouds? Y'all, how many of y'all remember this song? Why don't you keep your head to the sky? Come and sing it, ladies. Why don't you keep your head to the sky? Sing that one more time. Keep your head in the sky. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you're going through, say keep your head to the sky. John, yeah, what exactly are y'all doing? Oh, listen, you know, we just doing some soul music. How many of y'all know about soul food? Y'all like soul? Some smothered pork chops and some hush puppies and some southern mac and cheese and some sweet tea. Herman, you know what I'm talking about. Herman, exactly what will you tell Lady A what we doing? What are we giving? What are y'all doing? Just a little bit. I'm gonna give you just a little bit of soul. Just a little bit of soul. Just a little bit of soul. Come on, y'all, let's show them what we're talking about. I'm gonna give you just a Rock and roll. You know what? Do you think Pendleton, Oregon knows anything about a place called Miss Beulah Mays?
I don't know. Do y'all know anything about after hours here in Pendleton?
They might.
There used to be an after hours right down the street from my grandmama's house on 22nd and Vine. The lady's name was Miss Beulah May.
Beulah May.
And then I found out that one of my best friends, my sister girl, her alter ego name is Beulah May. So Paul had this music, and I said, I got just the words for it. So we wrote a song called Miss Beulah Mays. Miss Sonia Gill, AKA Beulah May.
Are y'all still having a good time? Are y'all still having a good time? Are you really having a good time? Come on, let me hear you.
Let me tell you about this music page. After hours down by my way. House on the corner, just for sitting and fine. Get good liquor, spend all the time. Showing the numbers at this after hours joint. Didn't take no mess, sure you got the point. On the hip, just took the 45. Let's do the stood about 5:39.
y'all. You made. There's one thing you gotta do.
The sound guy, can you have this monitor turned down, please? But not my ears. Thank you. This next song was written by the drummer, producer, vocalist, all that. He's going to introduce to you. Listen up.
We just want to encourage all of you out there to live your life. One life to live. Live your life. Y'all, we got some work to do. We're losing too many people to suicide. We got to check on one another more. We got to love on one another more. We're going to give you a little sample of what this love sounds like. Herman, can you play me just a little bit of love, just for this moment? Just a little bit of love. Love, love. What the world needs now. Love, love, love. Yeah, yeah. Just one more time, Herman. Just a little bit more. Yeah, yeah. Just a little bit of love. Little bit of love. Like you just wanna cry, cry. Don't even try and dry your eyes. You just gotta cry sometimes. And sometimes in life you feel like you just wanna die, die. But it's not your time. You just gotta live your life. You're trying to live out your days like somebody else's way. And sometimes in life you need to embrace all your fears. Yeah, listen, you could pick up a guitar and play like the star you are. me, come on. Let me hear you. Come on. Come on, come on. Everybody, come on. Real loud, come on. You just gotta live your life. Yes, yes. If you want to buy a CD, I'll be over there. You can put it on the oh, you give it to Sonia. She'll be right there. If you need a credit card, I've got a credit card machine. You can Cash App, Venmo. The shirts are $30. The CDs are $20. We'll be over there. Lady A, many of you know her by Lady A, the hardest working lady in blues, soul, funk, and gospel, but she's got a new name. Roz, you know what they call her?
What is that?
Big Mama. Big Mama. Ladies and gentlemen, right here on the bass, Mr. John Studemeyer is going to bring us in on this. I want y'all to get ready. Yeah. What they call her, Roz? What did we say, Mick? I can't remember. What did we say it was? Let's do it right here.
All right, here we go. Big Mama!
You think they're ready for it? You think they're ready? One more time. Come on.
Big Mama!
Can they say it again? Yeah.
Big Mama!
That's what they call me after COVID. You know what I mean? You better go on and tell the story later. Let me tell it like this. Look, going out with my sister friends. They always telling me when I can slide in. Girl, slide into this. You can slide into that. See, I'm full-blown woman. I'm not built like that. I'm big and beautiful from my toes to my chest. I ain't no size 2. Big mama, you slide in the way. Look, I say respectfully, be big or be small. Whatever your size, just come as you are. Look, let me holler at you, 'cause you are my friend. And truth be told, sugar, I can't wear a size 10. I told you, I'm big and beautiful from my toes to my chest. I ain't no size 2. I'm out the side of the red. Ain't no red. I'm outside of the red. Let's say that again. Look, 'cause I'm big and beautiful from my toes to my chest. I ain't no size 2. I'm outside of the red. I don't find it no red dress. In no red. Break it down. I'm big and beautiful. I'm big and beautiful. What they call me? Big Mama. What they call me? Big Mama. Now listen. I was going through my closet during COVID. Big Mama, I ain't gonna never wear that no more. Look, Mama, I went to this closet. Big Mama, I ain't gonna wear that no more. But you know what? That's alright, because I'm still big and beautiful. Because beauty comes from within, not without. You gotta love yourself before you can love anybody else. So whether you're big or small, just as long as you're healthy and you show love, beauty is right there. So you can call me Big Mama at any time. I'm gonna respond. Yeah, you know why? I'm gonna tell you this. You know why? Because I'm big and beautiful. I'm big and beautiful. What they call me? Come on. Big Mama. What they call me? Big Mama. For the people in the back. What they call me? Big Mama. Woo! If you can relate, just call me Big Mama. Yeah. We hope you are still having a good time out there. I don't have a watch, so I don't know how much time we have left, but we're gonna keep going. Maybe they still want to ride. Oh. Yeah. So we rode all the way from Seattle to Pendleton because of my little sister Lanisha back there. And we're glad to be here. But you know, with everything that's going on in the country, in this world, period, we need to be a little kinder to one another. We need to be a little kinder to one another. It should not take prompting. It should not take somebody making you feel guilty. We should be kind because she can be kind to him and he can be kind to her, and she can be kind to her and he can be kind to him. But sometimes you do need to do a little self-care. So sometimes you just get in your car and you just ride. This song was written by my sister, vocalist and performer, Wildhorse Casino. And we just kind of took the song and it has its own meaning. And it simply says, do you want to ride? Because sometimes you just need to get in your car and ride. Come back to yourself so you can be kind to others. Self-care is important. I told you y'all, I'm not the typical blues singer. We're here to leave a message with you. Sing, y'all. Listen. Come on, let us run away together. Let's get on the first train, baby. Let's get on the first train. Get on the train and we'll ride together, baby. Let's run. Come on, let us run away together. Let's get on an airplane, baby. Let's get on an aeroplane with our mask. Get on a plane and we'll ride. Woo! Together, baby, let's ride. Listen. Come on, let us run away together. Let's go to an island, baby. Let's get on an island. Go to an island and we'll ride. Together, baby, let's ride. One more thing. Come on, let us run away together. Let's make us a caravan, baby. Let's get us a caravan. we'll ride together, baby, let's ride. Don't you wanna go with me and let's ride? Come on, sugar, and let's ride. Don't you wanna ride? 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 Don't you wanna ride with me, baby? Come on with me. Don't you wanna We do it like this on Sunday morning. Swing down, sweet cherry, stop and let me ride. Swing down, sweet cherry, stop and let me ride. Say y'all. Swing down, sweet cherry, stop. Swing down, let me ride. Swing down, sweet cherry, stop. Sunday morning, do you wanna ride? Swing down, let me ride. Sweet cherry, stop. Let me ride. Let me ride. Swing on down. Come on, swing down, let me ride. Sweet cherry, stop. Do you wanna ride? Woo! Do you wanna ride? Come on, y'all. Do you wanna ride? 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 Do you wanna ride with me? Do you wanna ride? Do you wanna ride with me? Do you wanna ride? Come on, 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 let's ride. Do you wanna ride? Do you wanna ride with me? Do you wanna ride? Come on and ride, come on and ride, ride, come on and ride, come on and ride with me. Do you wanna ride? Do you wanna ride with me? Do you wanna ride? Do you wanna ride with me? Do you wanna ride? Do you wanna ride? Do you wanna ride? Honey hush. Honey hush. All right, y'all. Are you still having a good time? All right. We're gonna do one of them songs that my grandmama would like. Growing up on 22nd and Pines, my grandmama would say, "Girl, you going to Pendleton? Honey, hush." I heard Sonia and them was down there. Charles Gill and them. Honey, hush. So I wrote a song. You know what it's called, right? It's called Honey Hush. Come on. Going gin and wine, friends and family. hush. Till that's the talking man that makes you wanna laugh. Honey, hush. Till the kids when they let you wanna fuss. Honey, hush. Say honey, hush. Watching my mama getting ready to hit the town. The SY Club black and tan, the day was around. Silver wings, high heel shoes with long pretty white gloves. A child first with pride, while heart was filled with love. Who's supposed to be in the bed? Who's supposed to be in the bed? Who's supposed to be in the bed? So we don't hear mama fuss. In the back of my mind, I hear her just say, honey hush, honey hush. To you girls, when y'all are talking trash, honey hush. To the talking man that makes you wanna laugh, honey hush. To the kids, when they never wanna fuss, honey hush. Say honey hush. I was down in Jackson, Mississippi, someplace I'd never been. I was hanging with Dexter Allen, him and all his kin. It was Sunday dinner at Miss Smithy's house. She made such a fuss. I said, girl, that food is good. She said, honey hush, honey hush. When the food's so good you can't get enough. Honey hush. Someone makes you mad, you think you're gonna cuss. Honey hush. You and your friends are carrying on the such. Honey hush. What? Honey hush. You girls, when y'all are talking trash, honey hush. To that big talking man that you should wanna laugh. Honey hush. Kids, when they let you wanna fuss. Honey hush. Say honey hush. Honey hush. When the food's so good you can't get enough. Honey hush. Someone makes you mad, you think you wanna cuss. Honey hush. When you and your kids are down and gonna say, honey hush. Say honey hush. Hush. A little ditty right here. Come on. I've been with this man for a long, long time. He buys me dinner, drink good wine. He likes to rub my back when I get in real late. And he knows how to put it down, y'all, in a very special way. But now he's acting strange, he's staying on to himself. But I'm gonna knock it off. I think it's suicide. I'm gonna tell him to his face, 'cause I really want him to know. Keep on testing my love. I won't right out that door, 'cause if you don't want it, don't waste it. Don't throw it away. Let somebody else taste it. Come on, 'cause if you don't want it, don't waste it. Don't do it. Don't throw it away. Let somebody else taste it. I know sometimes that it's hard to put up with me, 'cause I got things to do, place to go, and my love and show ain't free. I bring you breakfast in bed and make you feel brand new. But I won't step away from walking away and telling you that we're through. Now it's acting strange. Stay on to yourself. I'm gonna knock it off. I think you know somebody else. I'm gonna tell you to your face. I really think you should know that if you keep on testing lately, if you don't want it, don't waste it. Don't do what? Don't throw it away. Let somebody else taste it. Come on, 'cause if you don't want it, don't waste it. Don't throw it away. Let somebody else taste it. Play her. sugar, just wait in line. Don't want it if you don't want my love, don't throw it away. Let somebody else taste it if you don't want it. We hope you have enjoyed yourselves. We are about to go home, y'all. This is the last song. Please come over and see me. Get a CD, take us home with you. Once again, show your love for Paul Richardson on piano, John Studemeyer on bass, Herman Brown on guitar, Mattia Oliver on background vocals, Ross Worcester McCommon on vocals, and John Oliver III on vocals and drums. This is a song we sing when we gotta head home. Y'all pray for us as we get back on the road. We're gonna have a whole lot of fun right here. This song was written by my brother, John Oliver. I'm gonna take my shoes off for this one, because I'll get ready to get busy. You know, I like this one. I don't know nothing about that. They might know it. Can we do it again? Go ahead. Come on. Take me back to Seattle. Out of East November. Love to be in Seattle, 'cause that's where I feel alive. Ain't no place like Seattle. You think we wanna be. Look, if you come to Seattle, you will be so free. Look here, there are blue skies in Seattle. Seas lush green. Smiles on faces, good to be places. Space people standing tall. Like this arc and pass the wall. Take a ride on the ferry. The sea will blow your mind. On Cambridge Island, the water's buried. And an anacortes, honey, you can unwind. So, take me back to Seattle. Look, I really miss the songs we used to sing at their games. See downtown Fred Brown, he's an icon. All you young folks don't know who he is, Google his name. 12 man brings the noise, y'all. We love our Legion room. The Sounders, the Mariners, the Seahawks, y'all. You know what? We love them too. Look here. Coffee. Starbucks is everywhere. I miss the nightlife and the people, y'all. Remember how we used to party down in Pioneer Square? You know what? 88 ain't stop.
Y'all, this has made my life. Thank you, big sis. Thank you. I know you just finished traveling across the world internationally, so thank y'all for making space to be here with us today. Thank you all for being here. I am fading quickly. And it is time for us to start vacating the room. So we can take this to the lobby, to the casino, somewhere, but we've got to go out of here.